So, knowing that we have Doki in the lobby, Tim, does suggest to me that we're going to see a lot of yapping in the all chat throughout this game. I've been told many a time that opponents against Doki like to just go straight into their settings and mute every player on the opponent's side when they're against G2.
Well, you've got Doki in the chat, you've got Alamau shouting, you've got Canadian who's not known for being quiet. I think there could be a little bit of back and forth between these two, it's fair to say. Mind games may play a part of it. Also playing a part of it will be our bans. We've got a Thermite and Monty ban coming out from G2, and Kaid and Mira ban coming out from Shopify. No, like, huge surprises there for Night Even Labs. I mean, I look at the Thermite ban and totally get it, especially with those 3 exothermics now as well. You know, you're looking towards your top floor, you're looking towards the RT wall, connector wall, down in the basement, you're looking at your double wall, you're looking, you know, all sorts of places that Thermite can be used. And the Monty, you know, powerful as ever. By banning the Monty, G2 are allowing quite a lot of alternative hard breach options. So the Thermite is kind of maybe less of an issue for Shopify Rebellion.
I think you just kind of struggle to take them all off the board, right?
You do now, you do.
And here, yeah, Monty is G2's most banned operator on this map. You know, conversely, on the other side, the Kaid and the Mira being taken away, they are 2 of the most banned operators for Shopify. So it's relatively standard in terms of bans. Like, no doubt there's been a bit of thinking there about what the other side might do. It's why you've got the Thermite in there for G2. But otherwise, I think, honestly, Labs is going to shape up to be the most reasonable of our 3 maps. Fortress again being the brand new map, Club being a map we just don't really get to see G2 play, and no one expected they'd pick it in their very first series. It's certainly a statement of intent, and I think this one might be the more stable map where Shopify are probably thinking we need that 1-0 start here because God knows what comes over those next 2 maps.
Stompin and Doki are 2 that we have seen recently forming a bit of a dynamic duo. The real resurgence for Doki in the second half of the year, particularly we saw him putting up some serious numbers across there and really kind of finding that old form and doing the things that we know he can do. He's going to be off on, he was on the top floor. He's moved down to that first floor now, but he's playing alongside Stomp and they're kind of working together there on the Vigil and the Fenrir, just in support of each other, within a room or so of each other. They've got that rotation in between and they can look to maybe play off each other's contacts a little bit.
Yeah, to start things off, as you might expect, it's going to be focused on IT with the round gadgets coming on through to start a march on through there, and then Rexon is stepping his way through in towards Catwalk. So, a good chunk of this top floor now in the control of Shopify. I've got to worry now about starting to look on towards the downstairs, and sure enough, Spoit getting a little challenge coming in from Doki, who doesn't want to back away from this one too soon. Happy to take out a drone or 2 and then slip himself back, and as you might well see, pretty much every drone has been chewed through, almost on the side of Shopify, losing nearly every single one.
Canadian's going to be pushing down Aqua Stairs to try and challenge Doki pretty soon. Doki's dropped a little bit deeper back. How about this, though? Ambi walks in and gets a double. Stompin is there with the Boss G to get the trade. Doki picks up the blitz. That is a big kill for G2. If G2 can kind of fall back to site in an organised way now, take the 3v3, a minute 20 left on the clock, they are sitting pretty for this round.
Yeah, big recovery effort, given it looked like it was going from bad to worse. Stompin stepping up to shut down Ambi. Of course, the other very young player in this game, it's worth referencing. First came on the scene, everyone was incredibly excited about what he can do, and fair to say, he has continued to deliver. It's more about seeing this team getting themselves on the upper set. Very, very good on paper, just not always quite there in practice.
I like this call from Stompin. He's playing in and around lobby stairs. He's got the other 2, Doki and Blaz, are in a position to get back to site quickly should they need to. So G2 kind of playing this like half aggression, really. Doki does pick up Surf. Stompin just a little bit over aggressive, maybe a little bit too early. Still 45 seconds left on the clock, and having that Vigil out on the roam would have been like playing with a wasp in the room for Shopify Rebellion. So they've managed to take that away, but Rexon is low health, 2v2, Doki and Blaz playing around those vending stairs. EXO just looking for their opportunities. This T-Walk Blaz taken down though, and it's Doki versus Spoit.
This is ridiculous. This game has been, this round even has been so back and forth between both teams, and now it comes down to a 1v1. We spoke about Spoit being that 1v1 king historically, but now he's got to find Doki, who's tucked away, hidden in, may even have bulletproofs, giving him a little bit of information here. All he's got to do is just play this game of waiting, and Spoit will try and get the diffuser down, but I think we all know exactly which way this one is going. Going to try and get the diffuser down, but Doki can step himself out here. Should have enough time to get rid of Spoit, and sure enough does just that. Round 1 going to G2.
Yeah, well played from Doki there. Just kept his cool. 15 seconds left to go. Knew that he could play the clock. Not much else that Spoit could do. Interestingly, we talk about 1v1 there. It's worth mentioning Stompin actually beat Doki in one of the 1v1 tournaments a good while ago. And I think he was playing on controller at the time as well.
It probably was,
I don't want to guarantee that because I I don't know whether he'd switch to PC at that point or not.
Your knowledge of lore doesn't run that deep, and neither does mine.
No, but I do know that he beat him in the 1v1 tournament.
Yeah, Ambi starting that out with that 2K was absolutely insane. Only for the 2 to come back the other way so quickly for G2. I was like, man, the 5v3 being spun the way that it had is bad enough, but it coming down to a 1v1. I really hope that sets the pace for how this series plays out, because that was one hell of an entertaining round to get things moving. We're now going to find ourselves going up to the top floor. So things should be a little more settled here, more focused around the execute, I'd say, rather than the constant scrapping around the map.
I think G2 have caught Shopify Rebellion with a little bit of surprise there as well, because if you recall back to the beginning of the first round, the entire lineup changed pretty much for Shopify Rebellion, because I think they were planning on going to the top floor. They thought that they would be attacking top floor, and then they saw, oh, it's down in basement, so kind of everything had to switch. That's not a problem for teams at this level, but it just, you know, you kind of, even just that little 5%, you know, that you get, it's these marginal gains. If in their mind, right, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Oh, no, right, we're actually, you know, on plan C, we're actually on plan for down in basement. It just maybe switches things up a little bit. So let's see how Shopify Rebellion do, where, you know, they will have been dead set, guaranteed that they were coming up to top floor this time.
So starting things off here, on towards the main breach and towards IT. Always the go-to starting point to get things opened up. Of course, not forgetting, Tim, that we had a slew of changes come through mid-month for a bunch of operators, one of them being Maverick, who now only has the 2 canisters, but they last a hell of a lot longer. Still the same amount of gas, it just means you aren't standing there constantly pumping the reload on it to make sure you can get a wall opened up.
Just holding the long angle here, Doki aggressive as ever. Gets himself a 3K. If you remember at the beginning of that round, I said we've seen Doki putting up some phenomenal numbers in the back end of the year, and he continues here today. I believe he's... last time he went up against Spite, I think he put 25 in the game across 3 maps. So, you know, maybe he'll be looking to put up some big numbers again against Spite.
Well, these 2 teams haven't actually played since like Montreal 24, I think, as well. And back then, it was 2-0 to Shopify. G2 won a grand total of 2 rounds in that entire series. It was brutal. But that was old G2. Same for Shopify, the different members back then as well. So there have been some changes to both rosters since then. So I don't expect we're going to see quite the same outcome. Doki, a massive 2K, looking for a third, but just not quite finding his man. A little bit of pressure from all directions here. Makes it a third, spins and looks for the 4th, but can't quite find it. But Tim, the damage has been done, it feels. It's a 4v2 for G2.
Yeah, Doki's looking for more. Might just find it. No, just hits that door frame to the side of Rexon. Keeps him alive and allows him to pick up the kill, but as you say, it looks like the damage is still likely done. A minute left to go. Rexon half health. Surf trying to work his way in, but they are against a full health Blaz. Alamau stomping. Alamau with the shotgun. The Warden, they can do very little to disrupt him. Very little utility left for them as well. None at all, in fact.
And against
and Doki's in the chat, of course. But yeah, 3 versus 2. I think G2 probably close this out.
Like I said, chat is most definitely muted for everyone on the side of Shopify. They are not dealing with that today. Now, at least scaring themselves together is one way to play about it, looking for a trade potentially here, but G2 are more than happy to take a trade. You'll lose one and game on the other side to make it a 2 versus 1 and close the round out that way, so someone has got to go big. C4 comes out, shot out there on the cover from Surf. To get down to the last 20, they've got to go now, Tim, but it is not looking good.
No, they've just got a little bit stuck trying to get on into site there. Blaz picks up the first, and Alamau the second with that shotgun. As I said, coming in, Doki continuing with this great performance. 6 kills now inside of 2 rounds. Hands himself 6-1 and really giving G2 some momentum. They spoke on the desk, of course, about this weight of expectation for these 2 teams coming on in here. And certainly G2 at the minute are the ones that are dealing best with that pressure.
I'd argue it's more specifically Doki. That's his second 3K in a row. He went out the 1v1 in the prior round as well. It is the Doki show to kick things off. Shopify, I don't think they've had bad ideas yet. I come back to the time I've seen these guys before and cast them a number of times. I've often said they actually look really good in the strategical side of the game. Like, their setup is great. They've got all the right ideas, as many top teams do. It just sometimes comes down to the actual execution itself. So that is where things need to change. You can't let Doki keep walking away with these multi-kills, or it's just going to keep on biting you and you'll keep on seeing the same outcome.
Round 3, and Shopify Rebellion desperately need to get themselves around here. I think I won't go as far as to use the word catastrophic, but I think we're heading
strong. Yeah,
I think we're heading in that direction if G2 get a complete defensive rotation here on that Haven Labs, because then we are definitely looking towards a 5-1 half, maybe a 6-0 half, and for me, that kind of you kiss goodbye to the map at that point if you Shopify Rebellion. So they need a round, and they need it at least within, I would say, round 3 or 4 as an absolute minimum. You know, the sooner the better. Get yourself back on level terms. At the minute, Shopify Rebellion, you're looking at it kind of hoping that maybe it's just one of those slow starts that we see teams have. Look, we know that they've got absolute quality. A player with the experience of Canadian, the only player who's played at every Six Invitational, he's not going to be rattled by a couple of rounds. You know, he's going to be saying, look, guys, just keep it cool. We play our game plan. They've got exactly the right leader in place to play and win from behind.
Shock horror, Shopify Rebellion getting themselves started on the upstairs here. Once again, Surf getting into IT. We're also, of course, going to see those RAM gadgets from Ambi running across that top floor, opening up everything that's going on below. And I'd imagine that's mainly going to be focused around storage. It's where you just saw Stomping not too long ago on the warden, sat in there holding on the window in case there is a spam of smokes and flash grenades coming in. He, at the very least, will be able to stay in that room and contest. But has to be so careful of the vertical angles that are being opened up above his head and may be forced at some point to back away and out of this room.
Doki again just playing on those warehouse rafters, preventing anybody from coming in and getting themselves established. Just gets himself, he's kind of just teasing himself out onto catwalk and back, wasting time. A minute 30 gone off the clock. Just having a look across the bottom of your screen on the Shopify Rebellion side. Not one of them inside the map yet. There's halfway through the round. This is not ideal.
Taking it nice and slow because they know that once they've got the control, they can afford to get a plant going down in the window. For now, it's getting Troll. He's trying to get some semblance of control, but it has been ripped away from them. Brexton and Ambi both upstairs, now taken away. G2 retain control of the vertical, and this is not good because without that vertical control, you can't get a plant down inside of storage. Canadian now rounding his way up to try and be a replacement. Don't forget, he's the one who's got the diffuser in back pockets here. This really shows that Shopify are hitting panic stations right now. They need to get kills up here, but G2 are giving them nothing. Canadian on his backside, it is looking ugly.
Stomping and Doki, you know, low health, that's about the best that Shopify Rebellion can say at the minute. They've at least done a little bit of chip damage, might give them an easy fight or two, but the problem is G2 can just play them as extra bodies, extra men, just leave them out in their positions. We can see the pings coming out, the yellow pings from Shopify Rebellion. You can ping them all day long. That's not going to move them off the catwalk. There comes a point where they need to walk in, take these fights and win these fights. Doki, he just dips away, and he's going to keep doing that. Nice. Maybe he's not. He's going to peek and give you an opportunity. Probably didn't need to.
That's
3 versus 3, a huge double from Surf. We've seen some great performances from him across the last year or so, and he continues on here, getting his team back into it, but 10 seconds there.
Laura's got impacts available too, and they've got smokes coming out. Alamau still with one more in back pocket. Plant is going down. No way do they get away with this, Tim. They've turned it on its head! That is phenomenal play from Shopify. Losing 2 players early on, it all looked lost, but they have recovered so well there. Just when it looked a bit of a moment of panic, they managed to get rid of Stompin, and he was the key man inside the storage itself and managed to make a beautiful play work out. Well played by the North Americans.
Absolute daylight, Robert. That's the only way of putting it. It was brilliant stuff from them. They deserve the round. G2, they're going to be kicking themselves. They're going to be asking questions because they should be 3-0. And that's the reality. And it's, if you remember, coming in and I said, are Shopify Rebellion just having one of those slow starts that we see from teams where they wake up around 3 or 4 and start really getting into it?
All right, listen, for basement, just make sure we're counting it down and we're all going together, okay? They're doing the extended again. We can keep looking at poking site. If we can pull them off, I think we have a gap to just walk in double there because they left storage to try to help kitchen. On command, remember, we can ace open. As long as we still have the ace, we can ace open the command wall. We can go to fish. If you notice, Almau was not playing smoke. It's Warden, so it should be even harder for him to take that, right? The Ying's probably
playing there.
The Ying's not as strong for that, but I think we can rotate to fish. Just make sure we have that IT, the command wall, and then pinching fish. Okay, for that storage round right there, we had everything we need. We overextended. Make sure we're 3-2-1ing, nomad that off, and just go stomping. That guy's hiding inside. He's scared to fucking death. Okay, let's go. Come on.
Through that, dude.
Let's go. 3v5 and we still won it. So make sure we're just taking our time.
I'm sure the closing comment at the end there, to be fair. 3v5 and we still won it. It shows that any round is winnable when it looks like all could be lost. And again, I'll really give it down to these three boys here. Spoit, Canadian and Surf. They played this out spectacularly well. Surf being the main man for me, gets that first kill upstairs, immediately in because they know where Stomping is and secures the second. And that's enough for Canadian to start getting the plant down, trust his team to see things over the line. Spoit 2 kills in the close. Very, very wonderful stuff. Now, let's see if they can adapt across these next 3 rounds and keep this going, because it is only 1 round out of the 3, Tim. They've got to get a couple more here if they want to have a good second half.
Really, really impressed with Surf in that round. Keep an eye on him for the remainder of this. I'm sure there's going to be more big contributions coming from his direction. Yeah, absolutely great stuff. Just seeing that opportunity, and sometimes that's what this game is all about. Opportunity spotting and having the nerve to see it through, to go get that space opened up for your team. So G2, I think, you know, despite having lost the 3v5, I think they will still be happy with how the match has started. I think they've been very dominant still over those first couple of rounds. They've got themselves the 2-1. They can continue that through, take the advantage on the defense. However, we've now got that additional ban has come in. Azami is gone. Shopify Rebellion have had their attack timeout. This could be a real changing of the winds.
Well, we'll see. Let's get into it then. Second quarter is underway. Nice and quick on this top floor to try and push in. Stomping the one, stepping out, hoping to find someone with the Bosch G, but getting absolutely nothing. He's got damage down. Rex and his low HP from it, but these days, that Bosch G at range ain't quite the demon it once was. It has to be a headshot, or the enemy player does walk away still on their feet.
Canadian's taken quite a bit of damage along the way. Needs to be careful on the blitz because they're going to be using him for this roam clear to gain space, but he does have diffuser in hand as well. So much so that he has just backed off a little bit there. His Canadian doesn't want to be giving his life away on the blitz, but the good thing that Shopify Rebellion have done is they've managed to get that top floor clear. So that's step 1 tick. You can now start moving through. You can deploy the boogie drone. You can start putting that pressure. Doki taken out by Spoit. 5 versus 4. Good entry for the North Americans.
Of course, keep the eye on the fact we've got a Pulse and a Valkyrie on side for G2. That does mean there is a lot of information to play behind here. And for Shopify Rebellion to get that starting point onto Doki, wonderful stuff. But there's still going to be 2 or 3 other players you've got to chase through the map. Only 1 player on G2 is downstairs, but Ambi snaps onto Alamau's noggin, takes him offline, traded out by Loira. Can G2 even us up at 3 apiece?
Loira knows that there's one on the window, needs to be careful. Strafing across. Wrexham manages to find Stomp, and Loira does pick up his man though, taking Spike down, and just like the rest of this game, it bounces back and forth, and a team seems like they're going to get themselves into an advantageous position, but then the other fights back. G2 keep it locked down to 2 versus 3. Rex and Canadian both low health, no utility in the hands of Blaz and Loira, but there could still be those Vulcan canisters available. However, it's Surf, it's that man again, he steps in and takes the fight, hits Loira on the swing, brings it to a 3v1. It's all up to Blaz, but he's been one of the most clutch players for G2 over the last 6 months. There's, if anyone can do it, surely it's him.
But you've got a blitz to contend with, you've still got utility raining on through. This is looking really ugly here. This time, full white flash, and Surf is in there for the close. If they can win a 3v5, Tim, there's no reason they should be losing a 3v2. Good stuff by Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, exactly. They've really woken up. As I said, round 3, round 4 has been theirs. We find ourselves now 2-2, and this match just became anybody's for the first 2 rounds. If you'd have just stopped the game right there, you'd have said G2 were just absolutely running away with it. But Shopify Rebellion have said, no, it's our time to join the party. And they've got themselves involved. So G2, they're going to move on now. Round 5, back up to the top floor.
All right, well, this is where things start to get interesting, because G2 were the ones that have thought, I mean, as we saw, they came out swinging. It was Doki for those first 2 rounds, back-to-back 3Ks, a 1v1 being won out in the first. I kind of held off saying it at the time, but it's always been my longest standing criticism of G2 is they rely on these big hero moments from individuals. And it's great that you've got that in your locker, but when a player can't step up and get a 3K and win the round for your team, do you have really solid strategical fundamentals that you can fall back on? At least here, it feels like Shopify are absolutely the team that are commanding things. When they have a bit of room on attack and they're not being disrupted by Doki, they look really hard to stop. And I do worry for G2 that if we carry on with how things have gone these last 2 rounds, you're looking at a 4-2 attacking half for Shopify, and that is the stuff of dreams.
I love the Denari setup that we were just seeing there from the top down. It just takes 3 of those trip connectors, and you've effectively got, thank you very much, you've got a real nice sort of block in place for electrical window, for the push into connector. You've got a Banshee also in play there as well. So that screams G2 are expecting a lot of pressure coming from that connector side. They would be right, because Canadian has already started opening up that wall. Yes, that can be dealt with a nade or similar, but Shopify Rebellion, they're going to have to take the time to recognize it and to get in there and deal with it.
Yeah, they're going to have to commit something to it, because there are no nades on side. There's nothing really that can get rid of it at range for them. Unless, of course, Ambi gets in and hacks out the one, it will disable both then, but they're in a good spot. So lots of potential still to just choose through that nice and easy. It's more of a minor blip for them than it is a round-ending disaster, so they won't worry about it all that much. And same as you've seen across the last couple of rounds, I expect him, they aren't going to find themselves inside the building for a good 90 seconds or so. Lots of droning, lots of softening up of the site to do first. Then they can start thinking about what an execute looks like.
Yeah, Ambi has moved over to that connector side now, but the problem that he might encounter is that Stompen's just playing in and around, and as I say that, he does dip away, so there could be an opportunity now to be moving in and getting a little bit of pressure active inside of connector. But as you said, quite rightly, a minute and 30 into the round, we still haven't seen any progress into the interior of the map from Shopify Rebellion. They've done this once or twice before, and they've been successful still. They've got their job done. Are they able to do it here in round 5?
Maxim playing this spot pretty much throughout the entirety of this half, by the way. It's always been his main focus, is get in, get some nomad jet drops down inside a catwalk, stop players retaking that ground from them, and then press on from there. Hasn't lost his life a lot of the time when trying to do so. Yes, he's only 3-3, but has been consistently getting in there and getting that utility down for his team to give them this kind of control now where Spoit can step up and start getting his hard breach charge down. That puts pressure inside of sight, and he gets the kill on Doki to start it off. Brilliant start.
They've kind of just foregone the connector angle now. It's all coming from the Aqua side, from that warehouse catwalk. That is where the pressure. Surf has moved into IT as well. They've got Canadian on a backstab with the Ying. He needs to make his move soon. 35 seconds left. Loira picks up Spoit. That puts Diffuser down on the ground. 4 versus 4, but it feels like G2 are real backs to the wall, trying to hold on here, and we've still got Canadian on the Ying to make the move. Is he going to be the difference maker? Yes, he is. Goes in and gets the kill onto Blaz. Rexton, Ambi, one apiece. 19 seconds left to go, and it's all up to Alamo. 1v4. He can do nothing. Shopify Rebellion, 3 rounds in a row.
And again, strategically, they look absolutely fantastic. Even down to Ambi's swing at the bottom of Fish, it was time with Canadian stepping in at the top of Fish and getting the first kill. G2 just, again, overwhelmed there, not quite sure what was going on, and Shopify have knocked them for 6. That's 3 rounds in a row, like you say, Tim. Rebellion may well be the uprising here. G2, it's not really pretty if they get on the attack and have a 4-round deficit to claw back.
A lot of what we see there as well, taken from what we heard Super saying in that TAC timeout. You know, think about the pinch from Fish. Get into IT, take that control. Alamo's on the ward and he'll struggle to hold that back because he doesn't have the smoke. You know, many of those things just showing how the interior workings of those teams go and how the coaches can really impact the play during those tactical timeouts. So, 3-2, we find ourselves now. Shopify Rebellion, they've found the answers. G2 are just being found a little bit lacking over those last few rounds. They're going to try. They need to get this, I think. I think a 3-3 is now the minimum. To say they start at 2-0, to go down 4-2 and have Shopify Rebellion move on to the defense. I used the word catastrophic earlier and said we were nearly getting there. Shopify Rebellion have turned that right around, and I'm going to have to throw it towards G2 at this point.
A controller storage we're going to step into. Last time around, it was the opening 2 kills for G2. They started out strong in the round, only for the Rebellion to come crushing down on them with that beautiful 3-man play coming out from Spoit, Canadian, and Surf. Loira being sent pretty low here as well, was trying his luck on trying to get a kill onto 1 or 2 players, but does not walk away with it, instead leaves with a few scars to show off where he's been for the starting parts of these rounds. But I don't blame him, because I think for G2 they do need to disrupt Shopify Rebellion early. It's one thing I've always said about these very strategy-heavy teams that are all about team-focused executes. You've got to trip them up early. You can't let them have all 5 players ready to go in and execute, because they're probably going to bowl you over. And Team Falcons are a team that I think of when I say that, unless you stop them early, which is very, very hard to do. It's why they've been in so many grand finals over the last 12 months. It's just not an easy task. So I'm feeling for G2. You're trying to make something happen. You're struggling to. The Shopify Rebellion are just growing in confidence as the game wears on.
Yep, Doki and Blaz still up on this top floor at the minute, and just looking to hold on. Twitch drone has been raining through. We've seen a lot of work being done by Canadian on the Twitch. He's really feeding intel into his team, clearing a utility, getting some real value out of these drones. Just sees the Valkyrie on the cams as well. So Lyra needs to be aware, needs to be cautious. It's quite deep inside of the site, so shouldn't be a huge issue.
Shouldn't. But again, it's just how the time wears down, and the more ground that Shopify Rebellion take control of, the riskier it starts looking. They've got this IT floor opened up now. They've got the vertical down. Now, Stompin isn't playing in the same spot that he was before. If you remember, he was tucked right into the corner of storage with a direct line towards the window. He was there to stop any dumps of utility coming in. But now the verticals have been gained early, and Shopify Rebellion have a player that can sit and play in this spot. In Ambi, he can't afford to stay inside the site, so that ward and gadget is almost taken offline for a while here, and that opens up Canadian to step right inside. Plant is going on down. G2 have got to stop him, though, Tim.
There's nothing that they can do about it, realistically. Nitro goes out, it's not going to catch its target, and now as G2 try to make moves, it's too late. Surf manages to pick up Alamau. Blaz does find one for himself, but it was the very low health Rexton, and with only about 23 seconds left to close out these final kills they need and get onto the diffuser, it's not looking likely.
Nope.
We see one go down in either direction. Doki keeps tickling that diffuser, but I don't think he's going to get the space that he needs. 2 versus 3, and Canadian just holding this, but they're going to go for the long arm. Doki might be able to hold on to this. You gotta move, Troy! You gotta move!
Oh, and he moves and gets his man into a 1 versus 2 for a second with just a few left, but the time is gone, Tim. They haven't got the time to stop it. Troy's done what he needed to, even gets himself an exit frag. What a half that has been for Shopify Rebellion.
Well, I'm going to say I would love to see, I can't wait to see, because I'm sure we will, how long was left on that timer for Doki, because that was close run with Canadian going in through that window. I wasn't sure he was going to make it in time. He judged it well in that he didn't try to get the angle. He just threw himself in through the window and shot left. It was like he knew that he didn't have a choice. He knew that time was tight. So in he goes, and I'll deal with the rest later. And it's good judgment. It shows the experience of the man. The fact that he's already looking at that clock. It doesn't matter if I go in here and I'm the last person and I die, because they can't do anything about it so long as I stop him being on that diffuser. So really well judged from Canadian, albeit very, very close.
One of those now. I'll see the replay in a second, I'm sure, as we get down towards it to see exactly how that concluded. Either way, it looked pretty messy. Look at that. That is actually ludicrous.
I don't know.
That's actually ludicrous.
We're talking points of a second.
You can't even see the bar anymore.
That's
wow.
points of a second. Yes, wow. But I also think Canadian got a little bit of luck on his side there as well.
Well, he was being pre-fired as well. Like, he didn't really have a chance to get towards that window without taking some damage, but somehow, like Neo from the Matrix steps through all the bullets and manages to get inside and stop Doki. Wonderful stuff, and you may even ask for G2, where was the player covering the window itself? I imagine trying to rotate round to it as quickly as he could. Just not much more to be said than that, I'm afraid. Still now a 2-round deficit. The G2 need to claw back, so we've got to see their attack start out strong. Shopify Rebellion probably feeling very comfortable with themselves right now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. 4-2 after going 2-0 down, but the manner of the 2-0 as well. G2 were just so confidently in control to begin with. Shopify Rebellion have just dug deep and really thrown themselves back into this. Really, really impressive stuff from the North American side. And, you know, I spoke when we were chatting to the analysts beforehand, and I said Shopify Rebellion are one of these teams that always promise so much on the way into tournaments. They look at the roster and you think, yeah, this is a roster that can win stuff. And that performance over the last 4 rounds, though, I'm not putting them down as winning the whole thing because of that, but it's that sort of resilience and that sort of ability and how organised they've been, how well they've worked together as a team. You know, the quiet performance of Surf finds himself evident. That's not ideal. You know, and then you've got G2, you know, nading themselves.
Okay.
Some serious drama.
It's a minor step back. A minor step back. You can't be serious! I get it like happening once in a round, but twice?
I feel like even Canadians are kind of almost like I yell him. He's like, guys, what are we doing? Come on.
So, Tim, they had to have a real good start to the second half if they wanted to be able to recover it, I said. I mean, they've done really well on the entertainment factor, I'll give them that, but it's certainly not going to win you any rounds, I'm afraid, boys. Blast and Stomping could do the very best, but you are against 5. One of them being a clash, another being a smoke. Still lots to keep you at bay, I'm afraid. So it's going to be 5-2 Shopify Rebellion. G2 just making things a little bit harder for themselves, I'm afraid.
2v5. Who's to say that they don't win it? I mean, I will. They're up against the Clash as well. Certainly not going to be ideal. Just holding them at bay for the time being. They do manage to get that connector wall open, so can put a little bit of direct pressure onto Sat, I guess. See, you know, what they can get from the angles there with Sin Stomp and certainly achieve wilder things through stage 1 and 2. But it's really going to take something special here. Rotates himself round to have a look through IT. Blaz will continue pushing from connector. 45 seconds left to go at this point. I think they're just hoping that somebody from Shopify Rebellion maybe just, you know, gives them a little bit of a freebie, gives them something to work on. But I can tell you now, hands are off keyboards and they are just sitting waiting.
Pretty chilling at this point, Tim. Pretty chilling. 30 seconds to play out. Stomping on his belly like a snake, hoping to catch someone. Does indeed get rid of Rexton, but there is a response from the other side. It's a poor 1v4 for Blaz here. Traumatized, or at least being terrored by Canadian on the Clash. One more up nice and close. Ready with the shotgun, but it's all too easy for Surf, who gets his own shotgun kill. And what was a bit of a gift of a round, surely is secured by Shopify Rebellion. Now a 3-round gap over G2.
I mean, you know, we've done a lot of talking about Stompin as a young player, new to SI. Surf is only at his second SI here, and he's having a phenomenal start to it. Really, really impressive so far. Quietly going about his business.
Now, but like,
8-3.
That's finished now, okay? Like every time, I even say you just a point, but now just not a point, okay, guys? They already have 5, and then like let's keep that thing that you have in mind. Like they already have the 5. Let's go for the coming back here. So like let's like be very proactive. Like how are we gonna do things? Like now they probably go basement. Let's home clear. If they go storage, say who gonna shoot the C4 for Blaz, okay? Like if there's C4, Laura could also go below. Like remember our fundamentals. What we spoke about everything, okay, guys? Let's put our shit together and let's be proactive and let's play together this shit. Like put our momentum down. Like play fast, like our DNA. Okay, like let's try the place now, okay?
Let's go, guys.
Let's go. Confidence, guys. Confidence. Let's go, guys. We are better than them. Let's go.
Yeah. Bad, don't you let me hang in.
I've missed the Romario timeouts because it makes me think that someone's coming from a job with how fast he can talk. We have to be fast sometimes, but he is up there, that is for sure. But the boys have always said, you know, actually, no, we really respect what he says during those timeouts, and it's always useful. So who are we to judge? Maybe just this.
The pain of watching that, you can see that I think Alamai's trying to get up onto the roof, but I think unintentionally does the sprint across to the other, you know, where you can sprint like wall to wall, so he does the sprint across to the other wall instead of heading up onto the roof. And you can see the minute where he knows I'm not getting onto the roof.
Just resigns himself.
And it's like, this is done.
Okay, we've got the silly out of our veins in the first round of G2's attack. Hopefully the second one looks a little bit better. Now things shape up from here is going to be an attack onto that first floor. It looks like control and storage. Now, we saw 2 very different rounds back in the first half, Shopify Rebellion, and I think showing that they had the capability in both to deal with it. Admittedly, one was pretty damn close. It came down to a matter of milliseconds at the end of the day. The prior one, they had to recover back and win a 3 versus 5. We'll see how G2 fare on doing the same, but you can expect to see some top floor control coming out, given Blaz has got over on towards that ram. Loira on the Capitao is most certainly one to keep an eye on.
Just a ping coming out here. I'm not too sure what the concern is immediately. There's no denial available for the side. They just want Stompin to open up that Mav line underneath. Just make sure that there's, you know, nothing going to prevent anything going on there, but there's no denial available on the side of Shopify Rebellion, so not much that they could have done. IT wall is open. Little messy. It's going to take a few
They can shoot these
pellets. They can.
I think they got away with 1.
I think they'll still have a walkable breach in there, but it means that all of the pellets are gone as well.
It's a lot to commit, but if that's the only real use case you've got, then fair enough. If that's the only wall they feel they need to open, it requires both hard breaches to do it. More power to you. Having the frags and Stompin's back pocket, of course, Maverick now also having those available, I think is quite a big gain at the same time too. Definitely gives you a bit of a free slot that you can play around with more in terms of your lineups when you have the Maverick on side, which means they feel pretty comfortable in what they've got. Doki taking up that Wrexham position. Worth stressing, Doki hasn't found a kill outside of those first 2 rounds, by the way. Team is on a bit of a drought here. 6 rounds, no kills. Not been good.
That's it. He started out with some serious momentum. Alamau is whoever that's going to pick up that entry onto Rexon. That's the Legion gone, so some Gumans will go with him as well. Bit of a loss for Shopify Rebellion. We can just hear the Nomad of Doki being deployed with those air jabs just to prevent any work being done on the flank by Shopify Rebellion, as G2 are very much getting aggressive towards site here. They've got exactly what they need in terms of map control and can start to really pressure the North Americans.
Right idea, just a few pixels off, unfortunately, for Alamau. If he held this a little bit longer, he might be able to get away with it too, but no. Player's going to step away here and not be too much of a risk anymore. You know, G2 have got this man advantage. They've got all this utility to play behind still, Tim. Really got no excuse to not find something here, but Stompin is inhaling that smoke for fun. Down to about 25 HP. He is the one with the diffuser. Got to be careful of this. Loira holding on towards the spot, sees his man, steps across now in towards site itself as Alamau secures his second in the round. Surely this is G2's round for the winning.
Yeah, you would have thought so now. However, we've thought that previously. Ambi manages to pick up Loira Doki with his first since those first 2 rounds. Takes down Canadian. But Shopify Rebellion continue to fight back on the defense. 2 versus 2. As Surf manages to hit Doki. How many important kills is Surf going to come up with? Stompin manages to take him down, but 4 seconds they could maybe play. Beautiful. For the diffuser. Blaz manages to put it down and get the kill onto Ambit. That's going to be a round for G2.
And would have had the, even if he managed to get the kill on towards site, there still would have been the vertical to contend with then as well. So good stuff by G2. Much better, much more composed. Definitely not blowing up teammates for half of the round. And keep themselves in the game. This is a very crucial round, though, going into it round 9. Me and Tim speak about this a lot. It's 5-3 right now to Shopify Rebellion. They win this next round. They've got a 3-round gap, and they're at map point. You may as well call it done and dusted right there. If G2 win it, we're back within 1 round of striking distance, and both teams are then not quite at match point, but are close enough that you can see either side getting there first. So, let's see how G2 face off on the attack onto the basement site.
Yeah, I think a real critical round coming up. You look at the fact that Shopify Rebellion are able to go down to that basement side. I think it really plays in their favour. It gives them a real opportunity here to get this one kind of, not over the line, but at least guarantee themselves overtime. Guarantee themselves that couple of opportunities to get it closed out and done inside of regulation, which, given how the first couple of rounds went, would be a fantastic result for Shopify Rebellion. As I said, players like Canadian on there, so much experience. Anybody can turn around a deficit. If anybody can just wipe away a couple of rounds and think, you know what, no big deal. It is a team like this, and they are showing serious resilience. 5-3 is it now. Looking to close this one out.
Ambi jumping on to the Solus. Was very useful for seeing a lot of what's going on throughout the entire map. Shopify Rebellion, a team that have enjoyed using Pulse quite a bit historically. But in this round, Canadian, he's jumping over onto playing the Clash, as you sort of remarked on, is to slow things down, to be a frustration point for G2, who, if they haven't got the utility to chew through it, they will find themselves paying the price. So keep an eye on Ambi, as suggests early in the round, for running around, taking down those drones, maybe being a little bit of a nuisance out on the road with players like Spoit, who are up on the top floor right now. They certainly don't want to give it all over to G2 for free. But do G2 want to go direct towards site here? At least in terms of movement, they've got some players gathered around. Doki maybe looking at an Exo push through. So things are being lined up for a bit of a clear, but it's certainly not a full top floor clear down, Tim.
No, I wouldn't expect so. We're going to take out the barricade and the barbed wire at the same time, and then they can continue on moving through. Ooh. Look at this, just having a little wander through sight here. Blaz has got himself right in there. They've no idea, Des. They've absolutely not a clue. Surf is there for the trade, putting himself up to 10-4 as he continues to fight hard for his team. More importantly, they've dropped the case inside a sight. Blaz going so far behind enemy lines with that in his hands. Big, big risk from G2.
That was definitely a guys. I'm in the middle of sight. That is a fresh comm, 100%. Very precarious spot when the rest of the team simply weren't ready to help him out at that time. They were still getting themselves inside the building to begin with. But if he managed to get away with the kill onto Clash and get a second, we could be having a very different conversation right now. Phone call coming out from the Dockerby of Loira. That's the last one available to them. Still 75 seconds yet to play with, but they've kind of got to work upwards here, which is what makes this awkward. Go and deal with those Romans that haven't been cleared off the top floor just yet. A flash coming out, and sure enough, there's a Goo-mine in his foot, so he can't chase at the same time. That's unfortunate. Rexon falls down, and G2, now with site control, are going for the plant, but stop from above, Tim. This is the problem with these verticals.
And look at Ambi's movement. You can see he's just ready for any fight that comes his way. He knows that there's one up there with him. just manages to find that plant again. Not going to be anything he can do about it. This time, though, Loira is there on the cover. Plant successful. G2, they've woken up again, Des. They've won themselves a couple of rounds as Doki takes down Spite. They get themselves back within one. Game on!
And 2 rounds on the bounce. It's worth stressing after losing 5 in a row to Shopify Rebellion. Could be having a different conversation about round 7 if it hadn't gone the way that it had, Tim. It's certainly a chaotic start to the half, but now they're back in striking distance. It's 5-4 to Shopify Rebellion. And as I said, that last round was a crucial one for me in terms of how things stack up, because now you can definitely see a world where G2 win this next one, then it's anyone's guess who can close it out. And probably, more likely than not, we find ourselves going to overtime. Yeah, I'll say the word, Tim. Drop it in there nice and early.
Certainly looks like it's heading that way. Shopify Rebellion, you know, we've spoken about the experience on that side. Of course, we've spoken about players like Stompin on the side of G2, but let's not forget, you know, you've got players like Doki, 5 previous this is his 5th SI, 4 previous. You've got Alamau on number 6. You know, they know what it's all about. Plenty of majors and everything under their belts as well, so just as much as Shopify Rebellion are capable of knuckling down and finding a comeback, as to are G2, and they have done exactly that. 4-5 now on the scoreboard. They seem to have had a little bit of a reset and will continue fighting for this one. It's going to be top floor.
Yeah, one of the more direct-to-sight ones out of the bunch as well. You're not playing this kind of chasing shadows on the roam clear throughout the entire game, or as G2 very riskily did in the previous round, kind of ignored the top floor, had to then fight back up later on while the plant was going down to stop verticals being held. Certainly made for entertaining viewing, but wasn't quite so standard, whereas this site, as a remark back in the first half, it is pretty direct towards site. Now, as we've remarked quite a lot, Shopify Rebellion have been fantastic when it comes around to the strategical side of around the attack. They look very, very coordinated. G2 really unable to put up a fight. We're now sort of seeing the spin on that, where G2 are more just kind of catching Shopify Rebellion with surprising, and I wouldn't quite say, go far as saying like crazy attacks, because they're nothing too insane, but it's certainly not the kind of bread and butter standard that Shopify Rebellion are expecting in the game. So G2 are keeping them on their toes here, and it really is a case of how quickly can they adapt to what they see going on when they realize what it is G2 are trying to pull off.
Straight away, we have connector wall getting opened inside of 30 seconds. Good immediate aggression and progress from G2. Love to see that. The minute have Wrexham kind of holding that position from behind the mirror window. That's something that they'll need to deal with. They've got the mirror window open inside of IT as well. That's now going to be extended with a few of those ex-Kairos pellets just to prevent an opportunity, or provide an opportunity rather, for G2 to do a bit of work. Again, so what are we doing? Messy breaching going on here. We see the ex-Kairos pellets being, I don't even know what shape that is, Des.
I do. Can't remark on it either, Tim. But at least now the wall has been opened up and they can get their way through. Okay, very good. It's open, Tim. We're all good. It's all good.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to find out when someone tries to walk through it in a minute, I guess. Yeah.
What a mess, but they've still got Canadian to deal with on the clash. He's going to be the focal point for me through the remainder of this round. Halfway through, not taking any damage yet. One of the fire arrows used from Stompin on the Capitao, so they have to have a plan. They've got to understand how as a team they are going to deal with that shield. How are they going to create the opportunity there? There is one air jab remaining. There's no air jabs remaining, so that's not going to be an option to deal with the clash now. Canadian keeping himself in the core of sight. I like how he's playing this. Nice and cautious, because he knows it's going to be a serious sticking point for G2.
But this is where you'd hope something like the Capitao Fire or maybe a nade can be rolled in towards his feet and give them a little bit of support. Or, dare I say, for the most part, you can't, like, ignore him. Like, you know that he's in the room, but he's not all that threatening as long as that shield is up in front of his face. It's the info it gives to the rest of his team that you have to worry about more than anything else. And this is where G2, if they can get a couple of kills at the very early start of things and get those entries on side, then you can start to ignore the clash a little bit. Ooh.
We were just looking around that corner, but not quite far enough, or maybe avoided damage, who knows. Toxic Babe will go out and just back him up a little bit. Wrexham finds Doki. That's a big problem here. Like I said, Canadian still not dealt with. Wrexham with the second onto Blaz for the round. Jab 3. I'm not sure exactly how that's worked out, but Alamai manages to pick up a double off the back. 15 seconds left to go, 2v2.
Absolute madness, and we'll talk about it afterwards because, yeah, final 10 seconds. G2 need to explode explode forwards here. Still one trap left in back pocket. Of course, won't have time to use it. Loira gets one. They've got to get rid of Rexton. Loira hits the headshot just in the nick of time, and G2 get it over the line. But to come back to that craziness on Catwalk, we had the Clash just dancing around, not really pressing out onto Catwalk. A player vaults in. What gets me is Rexton puts an air jab on that rotate every single time they attack this site. A player has vaulted out, triggered it off, knocked down Troy in the Clash, knocked down the player vaulting out, and G2 have got 2 kills off the back of it. Absolute calamity.
Well, 3 rounds in a row for G2 then. They managed to get one way or another, they get themselves 3 successive attacks. And forcing down. Let's not.
Yeah, jab, go. Look, both of them down.
Yeah,
and
both
Alabama's
down
like, thank you very much.
Okay. You know, a great finish from Loira there. Let's not overlook, you know, that brilliant play from the Deimos. Gets the one. It's this one, though. Look how much time is left when this final kill comes in. Just under 5 seconds. Phenomenal stuff from him on the Deimos to get in there and get the job done for his team. We're moving on to Kitchen. This is a big gamble for Shopify Rebellion.
By hook or by crook, G2 have got themselves to a spot where it's 5 apiece. And I bet in a way, Super kind of wishes that timeout was still available to his team, because my God, do they need one right now. It is not looking pretty for them. As you say, trying a different site off towards Kitchen we go. Definitely the least played site on this map overall. But maybe thinking, well, if the standard sites ain't working, Tim, we'll try something a little bit different.
Straight away with that Blackbeard.
Shield.
Yeah, exactly that. The Blackbeard is going to be used by Stompin, I think, to just go in and try and take a little bit of space. Looks like he's going to be heading into storage.
All right.
And we're going to have the top floor. They're going to want to get control of that, no doubt. And they've got Blaz on the ram, so they can get that verticality from above. But always an important position is this one that we're looking at on the Kitchen window. We've got a player inside of Kitchen and just going to be trying to hold on to that area for Shopify Rebellion. It's very difficult to move players from there, so there's no verticals down onto that spot. They need to be able to do something about it. Blaz with a great start taking down Spite.
Make it look a bit too easy there. More Alamar applying the pressure on the Blitz to ensure he could be finished off. Canadian can still waste a lot of time, but the thing is, Tim, they've got full top floor control here. Inside about 60 seconds, G2 have moved incredibly quickly. They know what's going on. They know how to force these players back, and they've done just that. And as they showed in the previous round, there are ways and means of dealing with this clash, even if it is ignoring it as you get towards the back end of the round.
Going to have the clash of Canadian just holding up proceedings once again. Great team play there with Ambi managing to find the kill off the back of Canadian's intel, off that information, and you can see it's backing Loira up as well because he knows he can't challenge too deep onto this clash because as soon as he does, he'll get swung. Blaz manages to pick up Surf. Now finding us 4 versus 3. G2, they can still get this done. 1:05 left on the clock.
It's more Rexton inside a site that's going to be a bother, and I think Ambi, who's kind of been backing up Canadian, who's lurking around lobby, of course, on that clash, being a little bit of a headache. They can remove one of the two, then it feels like this suddenly gets a hell of a lot easier, and it's why I was saying with the clash, yes, it's annoying, but you haven't got to be super threatened by it. It's more the players around the clash that are more of the issue. So you remove the majority of them, there's not all that much they can do to support the clash, and I like this. A back push approach coming in from Stompin now means that Ambi probably isn't quite so secure.
No, absolutely not. He needs to go in there and get the kill realistically or force him into a position where he just cannot really influence the play. Alamai manages to take down Rexton, but it is Ambi who holds on for now, but he's got that shield bearing down on him. He gets forced away, as I suggested he might. 20 seconds left to go. G2 needs to think about how they're going to get this diffuser down. Ambi is doing a phenomenal job here of holding on the stairs, but it is too little as Alamai manages to find the kill. 4 rounds in a row for G2. They've woken up in a big way, fought themselves back onto match point.
An almost baited Canadian there. Had him step in towards Freezer to give some support in towards Ambi. There was a second G2 player off towards the west that was then challenging Ambi directly, and at the same time, Blaz coming into Kitchen was immediately onto Canadian. He can't point his shields both ways at the same time, and sure enough, he goes down as a result. G2 with a real good showing there of how you deal with what can be a very, very frustrating operator. It requires a lot of teamwork. They're at 6 and 5 now, Tim, and Shopify Rebellion, they're going to be kicking themselves because they were up 5 and 2 not all that long ago. You heard the death saying, G2 are a bit of an up and down team, Tim, but it turns out in the second half, the only thing they are is most certainly up.
Both teams have been a bit up and down, but within the one map. It's, you know, as we said, kind of what we expect from them over a tournament, over a season, over the entire year, but to see it right in action, round to round, is fair something. G2 then 6-5 now over Shopify Rebellion and attacking onto the top floor. Last time around, Shopify Rebellion actually looked pretty good up on this top floor until that moment where they kind of threw themselves out, offered up a double kill to Alamau and lost the round on the back of it. If they can, you know, just avoid that this time around. They haven't brought the Clash this time, they brought the Tubarão instead. So let's see what the plan is to hold G2 at bay.
Not stepping into air jabs is definitely a good start.
Number one. That's got to be step one.
And I can't imagine without the Clash on side they'll be so bold as to do that. Instead, going for a real slow down comp here, trying to grind G2 to a stop with the Tubarão, the Smokes, the Fenrir, the Ela. Everything is just about turtling down and making this top four a fortress. So really, again, challenge now comes on to G2. What are you going to do? How are you going to overcome this setup? But it would be just a classic showdown between these two for it to go 6-6 and demand overtime.
Much better breach this time, I will say. Much neater. We're going to see it just extended a little bit there as well. Ready to go. IT opened up. Don't know if we're going to have any further X-Kairos pellets put on there, but it gives at least as much access as is needed for G2. We've spoke throughout, as they did on the desk, about this weight of expectation for both of these two teams, and it's G2 at the minute who seem to have been able to shake it off the most and come in here and get the rounds that they need. But will they get the one and only that they need, which is here in round 12 to avoid that overtime? Shopify Rebellion, it's not their map pick, of course, so they'll be more than happy if they can stretch this one into overtime and keep fighting.
I can burn Spoit out here to play it right, but a C4 up and over. Ambi gets rid of Doki too. That's the air jabs down, Tim. It's the Nomad offline. Certainly zero complaints about that. It's a good start for Shopify Rebellion. Still 4 more players to find.
Absolutely, it just gives them, you know, a real position here. It gives them that spare player that they can maybe throw out for a flank, that they can maybe get that bit of extra aggression with. You know, Rexon's looking for a little bit of a challenge onto Lyra at Aqua, for example. He can maybe just give that a little bit more than he might now that they've got that extra player, but they're going to want to maintain that advantage for now. Smoke canister goes out and just prevents that push. Alamau is joining forces. Stomper is in control of Warehouse Catwalk. 50 seconds left to go. G2 have the positions, but they don't have the manpower advantage.
Don't just yet. Really going to have to pull something special off if they want to get this one done. Otherwise, we are indeed overtime abound. Spoit going low. Canadian taking off, but a couple of kills make it 3. Rain on through for Shopify Rebellion. That's the stuff that you want, Tim. Just at the very death, they managed to find around Alamau. I'm pretty sure not going to be able to do it against 4, Tim. Not inside 30 seconds. This can only go one way.
Yeah, I would have thought so. They know exactly where he's pushing from. Doesn't have time to rotate. Is going to spot one out with the Grim Bees, but Rexon knows better than to peek that. Doesn't need to at all, so he's just going to hold himself back. The Fenrir's doing their job as well. The FNAT's just holding him back. And it's just going to be one little peek around at the end. It's Surf who takes it, finds his man, and we're going to overtime, Des.
Indeed, we are, Tim. Just how far does this run, though? Do we seal 15 or do we get it done in 2? It has been an attack-leaning map, 4-2 for both teams so far. G2 remain on the attack here in round 13, which means they get 2 goes at the attack. Shopify Rebellion will only get the 1, and we maintain the same bans that we have seen throughout the game so far. It looks like Shopify Rebellion are going to take us up to that top floor. And why wouldn't they, Tim? They've just won there. Why not do it again?
Exactly that, you know, just keep that momentum. You can just kind of look for more of the same. They won it very convincingly as well. So they look to continue their effort to take G2's map away from them and to get the win here on Evan Labs. Now, interestingly, I mentioned the Clash last time around, if you remember. Canadian had brought the Tubarão along. This time they're going to switch back to the Clash again. I don't know. Maybe they feel like they can get more value out of the shield than they did out of the Zoto canisters. It did a job for them. It stopped them getting Deimos tracked, for example. It's one of the interactions you've got to remember. The Tubarão canister will keep you safe from that. But Shopify Rebellion, they're the ones who come into overtime with the momentum, having won the last round.
Does make me a little nervous that G2 have seen this setup before, though. Like, these are the exact same 5 operators that we've had. And of course, you can change small things inside the round itself. What are you pointing at, Tim?
Loira on the book. That's going to be the big change here. Get Loira in underneath. Get him shooting out the floor from under the feet of the Clash. Deal with the Clash.
How about to drop away from the Deimos, I guess, in this case? Please stop talking. That was a long voice line. Honestly, not heard it go on that long before. I haven't heard that. Taking our jobs, Tim.
Dorky then going to be immediately getting the drone on inside. Like I said, a big part of this round is going to be about getting Loira established underneath. There is, however, Surf just playing, I was going to say, he's kind of around the stairs. He's in position at the bottom of Aqua Stairs to kind of make a play if they need to onto that underneath, but I don't think there's really enough of a presence down there from Shopify Rebellion to prevent Loira getting in and doing the work that he wants with the skeleton key of the book, which, as I say, should be taking away those power positions, those positions of safety for the shield. It should be going in there, taking out server floor, for example, so Canadian can't play inside of there. Taking out a bit of connector floor, taking out the floor inside of and around RT door so that Canadian cannot use those areas.
Desperate to try and move this player and hopefully collect a kill at the same time, just not quite being gifted it there. Ambi getting away from danger, back to the safe arms of his team. They're not going to fall, but as you say, that pressure's now going to start building from below. And I was looking at the Twitch drones, for example. You might look at that and think, well, that's their main answer to the mirror, and it certainly helps. But I think more you're looking towards the buck here. A lot can be done by Loira to open up that from below and shoot out the mirrors from down there. Alamau, the first to fall on the grim there. This ain't the stuff of dream so far, Tim, as Rexton gets another. Really going for it, but not finding anything. Stomping, finding one back, a trade the other way. It's not looking good for G2.
Surf does ultimately pick up that kill onto Loira as well, so there'll be no more vertical work, and the book just hasn't really paid off. He got in, he was established, he was able to do his work and open up the floor, but they got nothing for it. They weren't able to force the Rebellion into those difficult positions. They weren't able to find the kills from underneath. Shopify just danced around the danger and have managed to create more of their own in reverse. 4 versus 1 now, stomping with case in hand on the Twitch, being watched all the time by the ever-present Canadian on the Clash. And it is looking like it is going to be around to Shopify Rebellion. He manages to pick up 1. It would have to be an ace to clutch this out.
Nah, they don't let this happen, Tim. Not at this level do you let this kind of play come off. In which case, you probably look towards that next round. I think a KG2 will take a site they're confident they can win. Where my eyes turn to is going to be round 15 in that case. Shopify Rebellion can't step back to this site. They have to go elsewhere, and it's been a little shaky elsewhere with the number of surprises that G2 have thrown at them, so we'll see what happens when we get there. Spoit finally with the closeout. It is Shopify Rebellion up to map point, not match point. There's just, of course, still 2 more potential maps to play, but it's certainly a good spot for the North Americans to be in, Tim. 2 rounds on the bounce.
Well, you've got to ask questions for G2 as well, because, of course, moving into the next map, it is Shopify Rebellion's pick, and it's Clubhouse. And that's a perma-ban of G2. G2 very rarely play Clubhouse, if ever. And so you just wonder, it's got through the ban. They haven't banned it themselves, so it's the age-old question, isn't it? Have G2 done some work on Clubhouse? Are they ready to go there? Or have they overplayed their hand?
Find out. This is the problem, I think, when your strat book starts to run a little bit light, and when the other side have just got questions that you haven't got answers to. It's when teams like G2 can start to fall apart, I think. You know, they've looked, as I said, very creative through the half. You compare the two. I think Shopify Rebellion look like the very kind of regal, well-dressed, planned-out sort of go on this one. And then in steps their brother, G2, who are this little wild child, who have got some crazy ideas that seem to upset the status quo for a while. Those Shopify Rebellion, it feels, are starting to get a grip back on this one and have G2 in a bit of a chokehold. So, let's see how things go here in round 14. It is Shopify Rebellion on the attack, as we've already said. We're in overtime, so the team swap sides here, and they will swap again after this round. So I do think G2 can get this done. It's round 15 that I'm a little bit nervous off for both sides.
Rexton, Ambi and Surf feel like the real difference at the minute. You know, what a front line they are acting as. You've got 12, 12 and 13 kills across them, so that gives us 37 kills between the 3 of them. Great play on behalf of Shopify Rebellion, doing exactly what they need. 7-6 now, and an opportunity to close this out, and I'm sure that Shopify Rebellion will carry a lot of confidence forward if they're able to get this done here and now, but it's going to take a successful top floor attack in order to do it. If we have a look at how that has gone previously, it was 50-50. They attacked onto this site twice, lost one, won one, so it is the toss of a coin.
Really is. I've got to say, they do a much cleaner job of getting IT wall opened up, Tim.
Yeah.
G2 have enjoyed making what some might describe as art on that wall. Whereas Shopify Rebellion, the sort of no-nonsense, get it opened up, let's get ourselves moving on forward, and have done so with various operators throughout the game. But here taking G2's tack and making use of the Hibana to step their way on forward. Rexon this time not on the Nomad, as you can see, is instead over on the Ace with those Selmas. So not going to have any air jabs down, which might give G2 a little bit more freedom to move around. However, do G2 know there isn't a Nomad on the other side? That'll be their big question.
Uh-oh, it's that man again. Surf picks up 2, finds himself 15 and 8. Spoy onto Blaz with a trade after he takes down Canadian 4 versus 2. Stomp and Doki, you feel like the hopes of this entire match might rest in their hands. Looking ahead towards Clubhouse, it is going to be difficult for G2. They really need something out of Nighthaven, you feel, unless they've got some serious game plan heading into that second map. But it's not looking likely at the minute that they're going to be able to turn this one over.
Well, again, just look at how composed Shopify Rebellion are being here. Like, cool, we've got a 4v2. Stop. On the drone, figure out the game plan from here, because there is no reason they should be losing a 4v2 like this. Spoy finds one, Rexton gets the close from the spot that he's been in all game long. Shopify Rebellion, after a pretty scary second half, they turn it back around, 3 rounds on the bounce, and take their map pick.
Again, it's just that experience coming to the fore, showing itself in the ability to lose a bunch of rounds and then dig deep and find the ones you need. A great finish from Shopify Rebellion, winning G2's map choice of Nighthaven Labs, and it just puts them in pole position in this matchup. Super impressed with both teams, to be fair, at many occasions. I think that was much more about teams winning rounds than it was about them losing them. Both teams have gone in there and had fantastic passages of play, but we got to look at Surf at the minute. What a map from him, 15 kills.
Well, that was the easy map to look at. The next 2 are going to be sheer chaos, so don't go anywhere. Back after a short break.
some real class being shown by Shopify Rebellion as they take that first map here. It isn't even their map pick either. We have to talk about a round-defying or a game-defying moment, I guess, when we talk back about round 6, where Canadian got a massive clutch, which eventually helped them to push this game into overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it was 2-3 at that moment in time. It looked like Doki was going to pull off the long arm, and Canadian got that job done just at the end. And I think it's first to me to address this, because I said right at the start, is like when you've got these teams with Canadian, you never expected him to be the one that puts up the numbers. In the end, I did think he did only go, what was it, 3-8, 3-9, something like that. But that kill there won his team the round. It ended up going to overtime. In effect, that kill there, you could argue, actually won his team the map. And it was a massive kill in the moment to make the play to kill the guy that was long arming it.
Yeah, whenever we're dealing with two world-class teams, it will come down to the fine margins, you know, and him reading that situation. I mean, Troy came past us and he kind of seen a preview of the clip we were going to play, and he's like, how is he sitting long arming that? How's that possible? He wasn't happy.
No, he definitely wasn't. I mean, it was a great moment, and we talk about Canadian often, and players in NA even mention him as the GOAT when it comes to IGLing. You called him the man of NA as well. He's showing it once again. One thing you did say about G2 as well is that you love talking about them, but you also can't trust them.
Hate watching this team. I do. Yeah, but you know the round. Everyone knows the round.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
I want to see it again, though.
Get it up. Put us out of the misery.
Yeah.
What was this round?
Yeah.
What would G2
Clip
doing?
of the
I mean, I don't know. You always rely on G2 for a content round. G2 likes to play explosive. I'm going to try and say how G2 are planning this. Lover's trying to run in after the door gets blown up. Nades himself. You see it. LOL's coming out in chat. And then it looks like Carl's tried to repel up, and in the end has repelled onto the breach.
Just the absolute cinema of this happening, like, right after.
And by the way, this was the round right after Canadians made that play. Like, there's a world where G2, in theory, are actually much, much closer, and in the end,
they're the only team who can do this. Do you know, I always think as well, this isn't the first time they've done stuff like that. Remember the nade clip on Bank?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's always that. Why always them?
I don't know. I mean, they laugh at themselves, but yeah.
Team kills well. I love that. That's very clever. I like it. Well, yeah, I mean, we look at this. There's some, I guess, disappointment on the side of G2, but on the side of Shopify Rebellion, player we haven't even mentioned, going 15-8.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really come up when we were talking about them in the pregame and saying about how they've got these star players, you know, they brought Spoit over, etc. But Surf going 15-8, and I think for me, he's one of the best players in the world, in my mind, at being in those cut-off positions, in terms of allowing the front line players on his team to create the space, and then he's there cutting the players off when the defenders are trying to get away. He's there picking up those kills, and he is so exceptionally good at it. Obviously, went 15-8 inside of that game, but if you look at so many of the kills that he will have got, nobody's shooting back because he's in the right position and his teammates are applying the pressure, and he's just picking up freebie after freebie after freebie.
And a lot of the kills, he's outside, just on the breach, like standard stuff. And G2 are falling into that, which doesn't surprise me. G2, I think, came out the storm fighting. They wanted to try and just play kills and kills, and then they caught onto it.
Yeah, well, of course, now G2's map pick will be, G2's permaban, as we were talking about it, will be
their map
next.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, but it is their map pick. So there's a lot of question marks around that. I think the big one is, can they show that this is something that they've learned a lot on to keep themselves in the matchup here and get these first points at the Six Invitational? The map is ready, though, so we'll send you back to our casters.
Thank you very much, and indeed, Clubhouse is our next map ready to go. And as you've heard the desk speak about, Tim, it is G2's permaban, so this was a bit of a surprise seeing it in the map veto.
So much that I thought it was the other way around. I thought Shopify Rebellion had chosen Clubhouse, but no.
We were all sat there saying,
I was like, huh?
Is this entered right?
Exactly.
The teams are reversed. And then we look back at the bands and we were like, oh, well, it has to be right. Yeah, wow.
Look, here we are. We're going to go for it, and they're ready to go right now. There's G2, Shopify Rebellion, map 2.
All right, here we go. Let's see if G2 can fight their way back in and take us, Tim, to Fortress. I'd love to see that as our closing map of the day. I think everyone's quite excited to see how top teams are going to fare off on it. But for now, Clubhouse stands between G2 and a chance for us all to see that. Shopify Rebellion, they take this map, they take the 2-0, they get 4 points. G2, they walk away empty-handed. So let's see what G2 have been cooking these last few months while this has been sat as their perma-ban. I was looking at the numbers, actually, and over the last year, G2 have banned this map away 44 times. It's been banned away against them twice. It's been picked against them, so only in best of threes twice. They've won one, which was a very narrow win over Gen G, and frankly got battered in their loss. So there isn't a whole lot to go on here unless you're looking back a good 6 months or so to see what they were playing then, and the game has changed a lot since then.
It's just fair to say, I think that, you know, G2 have taken a gamble with this one. They're certainly, you know, rolling the dice, and they will see how they come out. They're obviously placing a lot of confidence in that work they've done, in that preparation they've done to have themselves ready to be competitive on Clubhouse. It is one of those maps, we say it all the time and time again. If you're going to win tournaments, if you're going to win championships, you need to have a Clubhouse in the locker, because at some point you are likely to be going there. Even if it's you can avoid it all the way up to that best of 5 stretch, generally speaking, you're still going to end up there at some point. So G2, let's see what you got.
Bans worth touching on real quick, especially from the Shopify Rebellion side. You're seeing Mirror and his army bans all day, every day, but on the other side, it's a double hard breach ban. Now, I would expect to see that on a map like Labs or maybe on Bank, and obviously 2 very, very specific hard breaches on Bank. But here you've got the Thermite and the Ace being taken away. Would expect that we'll see a third one come through, probably the Habana, I'd say, when we get to the end of round 3, leaving just the Maverick on side, plus, of course, those hard breach gadgets. But it will somewhat constrict the lineups that G2 can bring along to attacks. When you've got to open up a couple of walls, you have to make sure you've got them, and that may well mean that one of their go-to operators is offline. But look at this tip. They're going in fast, and they've completely just deleted Rexon. Spoit's gone too. What is this? Are we watching Weibo all over again?
It would appear that G2 have been doing some work on Clubhouse stairs. They were ready to roll. Straight in, got themselves a big double. Dorky does get taken down, so Shopify Rebellion managed to slow things down a little bit. Canadian picks up Loira on his way back to site, and Shopify Rebellion, one way or another, have actually found themselves in not too bad a position.
A 3-3. I actually say probably favours G2 here as well, because there are now a couple of key spots downstairs that you won't see out to see Shopify Rebellion covering, and G2 will very happily stat towards one side of the map, knowing they still had 2 minutes and 15 seconds left when it came out to this 3v3. They've got all the time in the world, and with this have also arguably bypassed this heavy roam setup coming out of Shopify Rebellion that was using the castle, that was having players upstairs on that top floor. It's really good stuff. So, lots of time to play with. We get a little bit of a mini skirmisher brawl going on though for this 3v3.
As my friend would say, time to make a new door.
Alamo just looking down through that hatch, looking if he can apply any pressure through Morton. Needs to take out the Scorpos second shell so that Ambi isn't going to be teleporting up to strip and causing any problems for them on the flank. That is going to now leave Shopify Rebellion locked in, as you say, all 3 of them down in sight. The big thing G2 have got going for them here is time, because they got in and got those kills so quickly. They've now got 1:15 left on the clock. They don't need to rush anything. They can take their time. They can drone as they are. They can build a plan. They can wait for Shopify Rebellion to give them an opportunity as Ambi strays across that rotation hole there. Nearly loses his life.
Couple of Goyo canisters being popped there at the same time too. Still G2 softening up the site. Drones running on through, as you've seen, to help them try and catch out 1 or 2 players. But with Ambi escaping, they've got a nice little triangle going on here, Shopify Rebellion, where they should be able to hold off. And G2 are coming in from all sides. We've got Moto, Mainstairs and Blue. Here they go, Tim.
Canadian nearly gets found out there as they come around the corner, but what a play! What a play from Canadian! An important double. He was just moving in behind the bar. Blaz gets caught half a second late, so he can't find the shots. Canadian hits bottom main stairs, then turns around and finds the man chasing him in behind the bar. Brilliant stuff from Shopify Rebellion, and to say the way that that round started, that they were able to kind of put their foot against the wall and kick back against G2, really, really impressive stuff, and it makes me worried as I know that G2 have picked this map, I know that they've got a plan, I know they've done the work, but Shopify Rebellion still come out with that first defensive round, and G2 have got work to do.
What I will say is that is one of our most defender-sided sites in the whole game, and the fact that it came down to a 3v3 with a good idea from G2, just a little bit lacking on the execution, I wouldn't get too stressed about it. What I do want to see is how the first 3 rounds go, because now we've played the downstairs, we're going up towards gym and bedroom, then I imagine across the cache and CC. How these next 2 rounds go will be very, very telling. If G2 only walk away with the 1, then I'm afraid to say it feels like the game plan of doing all this hard work to get Clubhouse to a good standard is going to be for absolutely nothing. Because if you're walking away with just 2 attacks on a map that you have kept behind closed doors, you've prepped and stratted and now choose to bring it out on the first day of SI, and you fall flat on the attack, I can't say your defense is going to be that much better because both teams have been really good at attacking in this series. We saw it back on Labs. Their defenses generally have left a little bit to be desired, I'd say.
Come to us. You're done.
Stompen very, very cautious about any early aggression that might come out of Shopify Rebellion from those upstairs windows. Doesn't want to be giving anything away. It's exactly what we would expect at this level. Doesn't mean to say that we always get it. G2 with Doki trying to work in through Garage. Does have the Soulless of Ambi ahead of him. Manages to see his heals. Manages to hit his heals. Does a little bit of chip damage. But Ambi does remain alive to fight another day.
That's the second round now where he's been in a quite a precarious spot and has had a couple of guns starting to close in on him. It was inside of Church last time around on the Scott Boss. I was like, what's the name again? On the Scott Boss here, of course, it's running around on the Soulless. But in both cases, he managed to evade and keep himself alive. And that is pretty key for his team to not go down a player in these all-man even advantage situations.
Alamo just moves his way across, takes a little pot shot through the soft wall. Nothing to be found as Cash Wall is opened up as well. And that is going to leave them now in a position of having to drop back here, Shopify Rebellion.
And this is okay, because they can play behind Canadian on this clash. We saw it an awful lot back on Labs, and almost saying we don't want to risk losing a couple of players here, because like I said, the clash itself isn't the main threat. It's the players that are playing with the clash that you have to worry about. He feeds information, he slows you down, you make noise when you're being zapped, your guns tossed everywhere while you're being electrocuted by God knows how many volts. It then becomes a little bit of a free kill for a teammate to step in and force out a 1 versus 1. So that's what they've got to be mindful of, is keeping these players alive along with Canadian, because that's when they can come out on top. So yes, there are 70 seconds left. G2 have got control of, at least on towards construction. They haven't got Jacuzzi opened up though, Tim, and this is where I start to worry for them.
Surf manages to find that opener, and again, Surf has been doing so well so far. Loira manages to pick up Spike from beneath with that Deimos. That gets G2 back into the round. Nade is going to drop down, not be successful in its location. Manages to find another man, but can't find the shots from underneath. 45 seconds left to go. G2 haven't dealt with that clash yet.
It's also Ambi that I'm a little bit concerned about at this point. He at least can watch on towards Jim. Surf carries on his reign of terror throughout the series, though. Gets rid of Loira downstairs. The vertical pressure has been removed. They've got 2 players now. 1 player on windows, even Blaz inside the side, but the clash is bearing down on him, feeds the info to Rexon. Doki not going to be able to recover this one, I'm afraid, Tim. And like I said, this is where I start to get a little bit nervous now as we step through these next couple of sites. Now just down to the 1 site. G2 could find themselves down 3-0, and that sets up for a very, very torrid second quarter.
Yeah, it does. I think the one thing that G2 have got to be looking towards at the minute, you know, when we look at map preference and when we look at map stats, Shopify Rebellion, Clubhouse isn't a big map for them either. More importantly is their attack win rate. Obviously, they're on the defense at the minute. They've got a 51.7% defensive win rate in the last, you know, recent past on Clubhouse. Attack win rate down at 31%, which means Shopify Rebellion need to be getting at least 4 rounds here. They are on course for it, but it's kind of par for the course at the minute. This is what they need as a minimum to be able to get through to overtime, really, with those attacking stats.
Yes, like I said earlier on as well, like I think both teams are better attacking than they are defending overall. I know the stats don't point to it. From what we saw back on Labs, that's absolutely the case. So I'm a little bit nervous about the second half if G2 find themselves losing here. Expect attack timeout, expect some kind of change coming into the second quarter. But it comes back to also what I spoke about on that first map. The first 2 rounds, Doki, 2-3Ks back-to-back, winning out a 1v1. Wonderful. What happens when there isn't a player on G2 going nuclear in a round? Because I've always felt that has been a big part of their primary game plan, is letting the star quality shine on through. When those stars are suppressed, what happens? We're seeing it play out in this series already.
Initiate jammer.
Shopify Rebellion then with the same start here as G2 had back on Night Haven Labs, starting with a 2-0. And it's the question being now whether G2 can fight their way back in the same way that Shopify Rebellion were able to. Clash is this time being brought by Surf, and he's going to be playing out in the garage, so there's got to be a plan to get rid of him. There is no Capitao on side for G2, so they're going to have to play something else to clear out that garage catwalk.
For now, Shokoro getting themselves focused on towards getting the main breach opened up. Oh, look at this, though. 2 players coming towards garage door here. One of them being Surf running around on the clash, trying to cause a little bit of threat. You have got Doki who's dancing on this door himself, though, on the Blackbeard, making sure they can't get too cheeky. But for a second, I was like, hang on, are they really trying to go for this? And I think very quickly chased off by Doki in the right way.
just going to be holding that angle. They know exactly where he is. They've got him pinged out up on the catwalk, but I doubt there's any way he's going to be showing his head to anybody up there.
Nope.
Rexon's just going to be keeping himself down below the parapet now, given that he's low health. He does have support from Ambi beneath, though. That's going to be the important one. I'm not sure how aware of that G2 are. This movement now should force Ambi back a little bit deeper, maybe towards Lounge.
Just got to make him move the tiniest bit. We've got nades, of course, in Doki's back pocket, but he needs to be in the right spot. Similar story, though, for Loira and Blaz, who can get underneath him, assuming, of course, we can deal with the ADSs and the magnets and Surf. Manages to get rid of one. He's having an unbelievable game. And once again, Tim, 4-0 here across these first 3 rounds.
Yeah, great stuff from him and exactly what his team needs. Out goes the air jab. It's going to do the job as Rexon gets picked up by Doki before it is required. So that leaves us now 4 versus 4. A minute 15 left on the clock. G2 can start the movement up Garage Catwalk, but I think they are just still a little bit concerned about Ambi's location and where he's gone. They must know that he's gone down into the basement now, but how do they deal with that problem? That's going to be the big question for G2 to solve.
Just try and massage him in a way and keep him away from you enough through the air jabs, through drones, for example. They've got tools with which to do that. Though it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy that he can't find a way through in the end. There is always a way through. So hitting the site might not be the end of the world here, Tim. That's what they're going to try and go for. One top red, you got the clash up nice and close as well. Of course, got Doki in close proximity at the same time. So really we've seen the two forces just smash together here inside of site. Is it safe to plant? Not quite yet, because there's a C4 waiting with Canadian.
Dumping is going to go for... Oh, he looks to just back out of it, but will be taken down by Spoit. 3 versus 3 as Doki grabs the diffuser and goes to put it down. They are aware the plant's going down because of Canadian's position. He manages to find the kill onto Alamau, but can do nothing about the plant, which is secured. Doki manages to pick up the kill onto Surf. 2 versus 2. Now it is up to Canadian and Spoit.
Doki going for a bit of exploring here, just making himself into a bit of an odd spot rather than jumping back onto Catwalk. Wants to go aggressive, stop the rotate, but they've pre-fired onto him, Tim. Beautiful stuff, and have found at least one. They know where the next is too. They've got pings onto him, Tim. This is so hard to fight though. They've got to be absolutely perfect with this Maverick height. Canadian has got the cross, and he's also found the man, Spoit. A 3K in the round, and Tim, RG2 in free fall. It's starting to look that way.
Unreal play from Spoit there. Knew that the challenge was not on the door. He knew that the challenge was too difficult because he would have to play through that narrow Mav hole. Instead, he swings all the way out wide and takes the fight at a favourable angle for himself and wins it. G2, they've got to be asking themselves big questions here. I'm surprised we're not seeing a tactical timeout.
MVP of the round, bulletproof camera. The standard one that you always see inside a site, got the yellow ping down to the player outside.
Look,
it let them know that we'd seen him step across.
We are
Tack timeout.
Having a lot of problems with the clash. If they if they're gonna business like with the clash, remember, like, don't need to panic. I just need to avoid like how the clash is. Like maybe like you have them shoot Zopical. Maybe you can do the dirt execute and play only for blue.
If they're playing clash again, bro, they are
but that's what I'm saying. Like you need to see like where is the clash is playing. Okay, so like if you're playing shoots, like, and if the clash is not playing dirt, like you have the cross, like not hit the dirt, and then like if they have alright like inside dirt, like you have the cross like a kitchen, and then like we like play for the shields for church. Okay, see if you can play the shields. If you can't, you can't. Like just like and for the G, see also if you can do the direct. Okay, so like we like have more time to avoid the execute. Okay,
yeah,
let's go, guys.
Okay, go.
So the ball call coming in not to ban the clash. We've seen it across both maps have varying amounts of impact. I think it's pretty fair to say, Tim. But clearly they are starting to get frustrated by it here. They feel that they can play through it by running more shields. Time will remain on that side, we'll see.
This was the one. Absolutely brilliant.
They knew he was there because of the camera that saw him go through.
When I see kills like that, I just think, like you say, they're using the intel so well. They're just getting such a sense for everything that's going on. I think this is going to be really difficult for G2 to fight their way back in. If Shopify Rebellion are at the point of hitting shots like that, I don't know what
I love is Rexon jumped in all chat afterwards and was like, screw you, I know who you scrimmed to get that strap from. And this is obviously one thing worth mentioning is, of course, you know, no one's seen G2 play it in officials, but teams would have scrimmed G2 on this map as well. This is the thing, right, that I've had this idea, and teams are always playing each other, especially coming to international events like this. They'll be scrimming across groups and all sorts. And clearly Shopify have scrimmed the same opponent, seen them use that strat and gone, oh, I've seen someone use that one before. And so there's a little bit of learning there to maybe to be had on where they get these things from. Spoit being sat down by Alamal for sure, who's running around on the Ying. Hell of a kill to get with the pistol. And it is going to be the Tuber out offline, so not going to be able to trick and slow things down as much as they would like. But still going to be a little bit of impediment to deal with things like the Kaid being on side. It's why we've now got the Thatcher coming along from Loira.
Yeah, Alamau leading from the front there. It's exactly the start that G2 needed inside of this round to make sure that they were getting themselves on that front foot. They're 3-0 down. They need rounds. Simple as that. I think they need at least 2 attacks. I think if it goes 5-1, Shopify Rebellion, it gives them that opportunity to overcome that 30% attacker win rate, because then 30% is enough. You're going to pick up the 2 rounds that you need. So I think definitely for G2, the fight back needs to start now, and they want to be getting at least 2, if not all 3 of the following rounds.
Enemy devices are dark.
Taking out the default cam there, at least for a moment. That's one he was looking for. Of course, you get to see these dots that indicate now on the Thatcher overlay what gadgets are in range that you would disable. Had the 2 earlier, went down to 1 in the spot that he moved to. And it is unfortunately only the default cam, which I don't think is going to do too much for them just yet.
Loading new mag.
Something just going to open up that kitchen door from Freezer. Look to move on in there and start doing a little bit of that vertical work maybe. It does have the destruction of the pistol, but needs to be cautious, of course. We've still got a Nitro downstairs in the hands of Canadian. Given any opportunity to deploy it and find a kill, you know that he certainly will do. 5 versus 4 still for G2. 1 minute 20 left on the clock. They need to start getting some work done on these hatchers. You can see them just spraying through there. Ooh. Canadian looks for the Nitro throw. Does an awful lot of damage to Loira, who, fortunately for him, was up on the countertop and at least in some moderate level of safety.
Yeah, enough to keep him alive, otherwise he was toast 100%, and that would have been a way for Shopify Rebellion to even things back to 4 apiece. Laura's still charging around, yet to really see the gadget be put to the most effective use case they were looking for. I'd imagine disabling away one of those electro claws is going to be it, but they've dealt with that. It is offline and now managed to get kitchen hatch opened up.
Loira's going to head down to the bottom of main stairs. Ooh, with how little health he had to move sharply then, and did so. Even one breath, I think, of that Toxic Babe canister would have taken him down. Doki manages to pick up the second onto Rexton, and a third. So manages to find the trade, but it looks like this one is going to G2, and indeed it will, as the final kills come in. That is their first round on the board, and honestly, it could not have been better timed for G2 to stop the rot.
It's about time they got themselves something going, wasn't it? Because it was going to go from bad to worse if they'd lost the 4th in the row off the back of attack timeout. Shopify Rebellion, now we get to go through those secondary 2 sites. Now, I mentioned that downstairs was one of our most defender-sided sites in the game. But they've lost that. I thought we might see them repeat that site, but no, they're sticking to the rotation. Gym bedroom in round 5, and you can only then imagine that means cash CC in round 6, unless they decide, you know what, basement does sound better. Let's get back down there again. This will be the big challenge too. The Clash is available in this round. It's of course being picked up. Canadian making use of it. You heard during the attack time from Alia, they feel they've got an answer to it, Tim, and it's not shields by the looks of it. They're changing away from those.
Okay, round 5, gym and bedroom. Shopify Rebellion still going to look to extend that lead. I think, again, this is an important round for them. They don't. If G2 get the second round here, it's 2 rounds in a row, and it's kind of the minimum that G2 need. They kind of hit their threshold then. Shopify Rebellion will be looking and thinking, we need at least 4. So what it does is it leads you into round 6. If you Shopify Rebellion and you lose this round, thinking that then that becomes the must-win round. If you've already got it locked down now, round 6 is your bonus round. It's your opportunity to get yourself a little bit of breathing space. So a big round for these 2 to fight over.
Absolutely. And go to the tertiary site like I mentioned, or repeat in the primary and see what happens. But now I imagine we'll see a different tap, because they left Jacuzzi Wall completely closed up last time around. The fact they've got Alamal, the Thatcher says to me they want to see it opened up this time around. They've relied very heavily on the windows to help them out and losing Blaz. Not a great start for them. A lot of gadgetry offline, as you can see at the top left corner of your screen, losing both hard breach charges and those micro EMPs. That's going to sting, because now all they can rely on is Doki to get walls opened up.
Surf is going to slow that process down as well, applying the Zoto canister to the wall. He's still playing on that elbow corner, so he's going to continue to do it as we see. More X-Kairos pellets will be frozen out. It's not the end of the world for G2. They do have time at the minute. There's still 2 minutes left on the clock. They can have the utility from the Thatcher to keep taking out the Electroclaw, but this is all burning time, and helping Shopify Rebellion.
It is, but that's the last auto that can come out now, so we should be able to crack on and get this wall opened up. Sure enough, all those X-Kairos light up on that wall. The breach will be opened. One for them to step through and one to give them a nice challenge in towards that long corridor itself. Now that's a bit unfortunate, losing out your drone as the Flores explodes on the wall in front of them. But they can start their march through the east side of the map here. They've got full control of it, G2. Once again, Shopify just pulling back and looking to play in behind the clash and use Canadian as that primary info spotter for them to help secure some free kills.
Ambi's going to be in a really important position. He's the one playing inside of construction, looking to prevent Stomp and being able to push forward and take any ground in there. Right now, Shopify Rebellion, there's not much they can do. They just kind of sat on their heels waiting for G2 to make the move. It's Loira who is on main stairs, ready to make that push forward, but they are at man disadvantage. Don't forget, 4 versus 5. They really cannot lose this first fight when the time comes.
Well, this is the thing here. He needs to be patient and wait for his team to be in position. You've still got Stomping working his way through. Doki's rotating over towards Logi. They need pressure inside of there before he can start his march on forward. And now that he's there, he can make his move. Has a track going down on towards Spoit. Walks on forward and gets rid of Ambi. Kaid offline, 4v4.
Loira with a big double. Those were the kills that they needed. Alamau finds one. It's 3 versus 1 and unlikely that Spoit can fight his way out. Does manage to find one, but with 20 seconds left to survive, Doki finds the kill. And that is going to be G2 taking themselves another round. That, I think, is a big round for G2 because, like I say, it now returns the pressure, puts it back onto Shopify Rebellion. They are the ones that need to get this round, to get that minimum that they were looking for. Otherwise, they go into their attacking half looking to have to do better than they would normally, statistically speaking, on the attack.
Doki's latest comment in the all chat: you're literally blessed that Clash exists, Troy. I said Croy with a slight typo, but as you've seen, they're making good use of the Clash to try and keep G2 at bay. This time around, a little bit too much going on from the G2 side, kind of overran them. Shopify Rebellion left kind of scrounging for a recovery there. They aren't going to go to Cash DC, Tim. We are going to repeat the primary site downstairs. If they lose this round, you could not have looked at 2 different quarters in terms of how the game has played out, because after those first 3, it looked to me like Shopify Rebellion could really push on and have a rock-solid first half overall. Now, it's looking like there might be a 3-3, and I think G2 will love this if they can get their 3rd attack on the board.
Absolutely, it's a huge turnaround for G2 if they're able to do that, given that the start that they were facing last day, it's much like the reversal of what we saw on 98 Labs, where G2 came out super strong, but then were reeled back in by Shopify Rebellion. So 3-2 on the scoreboard at the minute. Shopify Rebellion, final defense now. They're going to be taking us down to the basement. If we look how that's gone, it's been 50-50. They've won 1 and lost 1. Ambi, though, picks up an opener onto Doki. However, Loira in quickly again. We saw this from G2 in the first round, just getting on in, taking that grounding bar and making life difficult for Shopify Rebellion.
Breaching charges up.
Good start, but still just 4 versus 4 they're in. All things being equal, I spoke last time around about how probably favoured G2 in the 3v3 here. In a 4v4, there's enough covering that you can do as the defenders, so I wouldn't feel too nervous as the Rebellion coming in here. The floor being opened up right above the head of Surf, who takes a bit of a lick and finally gets down and finished off by Stomping. Hanging around a bit too long out towards that Arsenal side, pays the price, and this is where they can hit go. But Ambi stops them yet again, the 2nd time in this round. We're back where we were before, Tim. It's a 3v3 on the downstairs site again.
Yeah, exactly like before, pretty much in terms of time as well. We've got 2 minutes left on the clock, so G2 with plenty of time to be able to work. I think they are aware of the player inside of stock at the minute, though. It's going to be Spoit. He's not going to win the fight as Stompin pre-fires him around the corner, just showing his ability. Been a little bit quiet overall today, but you just know that he's got those big moments in the locker, ready to go. Blazamao might pick up one apiece, and G2, they undo a lot of the damage that was done early on Clubhouse.
They look seriously cooked after 3 rounds, Tim, but have managed to pull it back to 3 apiece. Did not expect that. Now they go on the defensive side. Again, I'll come back to what I said at map start. I feel like on Labs we saw really good attacking performances from both teams. The defense is where things lacked a little bit. It was kind of dependent on what the attackers did and how well they were playing in the round that saw it over the line. I thought Shopify Rebellion were a lot more stable on their attacks of Labs, and I don't think Clubhouse is going to be all that different. So G2 need to find ways to trip them up in the early rounds.
Yeah, I think, you know, after those first 3 rounds, you look at it and you've got to give the advantage to Shopify Rebellion. But like I said, and that's why I called that stat out, 30% attacking win rate leaves Shopify Rebellion seriously on the back foot now. We need to see something from them that they are not usually able to deliver. But saying that, we don't really know how good G2 are on the defense. You know, they could be terrible. They could be amazing. We'll find out over the next 6 rounds, of course. Seen the highlights from that first half. There's been a couple of players, you know, in the server that have been able to put up some decent numbers. I think Loira has certainly had some big moments. Doki as well. Surf, some key moments. You know, and Ambi definitely getting involved as well. This one is in the balance at the minute and absolutely anybody's.
It is. So let's get into it then, shall we? Bans are done. Site is locked in. It will shock you all that we are starting downstairs inside of Church and Arsenal. And nothing too crazy coming out from either side. You've seen the bans coming in as the Kite and the Mirror, for example. And for the side of G2, it looks to be that we've got the Mozzie coming along. We've got the Vigil out there on their own. But I think before that, Tim, unfortunately, we've got a little bit of a rehost to go through. So we'll hang on for a few minutes and then jump straight back in.
First one that we've had today.
It is, yeah, it is. It is a
for day one, that's pretty good going.
Because day one is normally when things go wrong. That's the time when things are a bit crazy. You find the odd bits of hardware, they're a bit off. There's a few like teething problems sometimes for teams, but we're doing well today, actually.
We have, I think.
Very well.
Yeah, so that we've got to this point. We're in the match 4 of our day here on A stream. I think the other stream will very possibly finish.
It was long. It's finished long
done, is it? Yeah.
It's long done, yeah. It was a quick end over there. I believe they finished like basically as we were starting the first map.
Oh, right, okay.
Which tells you the whole story. Yeah.
I think it does.
It's pretty quick.
I think we've had some fantastic results as well today. Obviously, you know, I'm sure that the desk will do a rundown once we're finished here with this game. But I think what I like about it, there's been a few teams that we kind of expected to do well that have come out and impressed, and you think, okay, they're looking good. And then there's been a few teams that have maybe we've had those couple of upsets where you're looking, you know, we've got teams like Heretics who we didn't really know what to expect from, and they've come out with a win. You know, Weibo, I thought they might get the win against NIP, but I think it might have surprised a few people along the way as well. So, you know, some of the groups maybe not looking exactly as people might have expected coming at the end, you know, coming out at the end of the day.
And not forgetting, of course, we've got 2 heavyweights that play tomorrow, and MAT, FaZe start jumping into the action. It's going to be really interesting because as we've got groups of 5, it's 4 groups of 5 teams. One team, unfortunately, is the odd one out and doesn't get to play on day one. They just get to sit and watch the action unfold and then jump in tomorrow like, right, we're really here to mess things up for a few people now and see how things build out. But it does also mean that one team has the day off on our final day of groups and kind of has to sit and watch as fate is out of their hands. They have no control anymore. They're just kind of left to see what happens with other teams to determine where they land, because finishing position in groups does matter. Only one team does get sent home, and that is the team that finishes in 5th place. They're done, they're eliminated, they're gone. 4th place, they go into the lower bracket immediately. 2nd and 3rd place go into round 1 of the upper bracket. And the top team in each group, well, they go straight to round 2 of the upper bracket. So they're very, very close already to tasting victory at SI. Just have to get a few more over the line. But what makes me a bit nervous about that, Tim, is once you're in that upper bracket and you get to have a good rest for a good 3, 4, 5 days, you're quite cold at that point, whereas the others that have had to battle their way through the lower bracket or have had more games to play, they're a little bit warmer, and we've seen it so many tournaments. Teams drop maps because they're a little bit cold and have to warm into things. That one map can be what sends you home.
It certainly can. We've seen huge differences made by, as you say, just one map. I think in terms of the play here, though, and this one map that we are playing, we are just about ready to get back in, but we will make sure everything is good to go before we send you on over, as we always do. So we're not kind of going in and out and having to stop again. We'll just make sure everything is right. But we will be, when we get back into it, moving into the second half of things. If you just happen to be joining us at this very specific time, we've had the first half of map 2. Shopify Rebellion did win the first map of Nighthaven Labs, which was their choice. And then we're playing here on Clubhouse, which is G2's choice. And we are moving into round 7. It's 3-3. It is even Stevens at the minute. But you feel, given Shopify Rebellion's history and their attacking win rate here on Clubhouse, you've got to give a slight advantage to G2 here on this bit now.
I'm only trying to will an advantage to them because I really want us to go to that third map.
You just want to see Fortress.
I really want to see Fortress. I love it when a new map comes into the pool because, of course, teams have been workshopping it, and it's kind of this race to the summit. It's the first team trying to establish themselves as, right, you have to ban Fortress against us because we're amazing at it. And then other teams are looking at that thinking, well, we've seen what you've done on day one. We've got all these things we can counter-prep against it, so now we're going to play you there. And it adds so much excitement to a tournament. So I love that it's brand new for SI. When the stakes are the highest, what a great time to introduce a new map. So I really do hope we get that third map.
Are we going to have a little match for the aggression that we saw out of G2 at the start of round one?
No.
No,
That's not Shopify Rebellion.
That's just prep. That's fine. You never know. You never know. When they go down and they get excitable about a soft wall like that, it could be followed up. I don't know. We've got Canadian heading straight down there on the Blackbeard. Going to be supported by Spoit as well, I think. I mean, they've made enough noise now. They've made enough noise. I think G2
They've made it knowing they're coming in.
G2 should know that they're on the way down Dirt Tunnel.
I think it's not a terrible idea as well because look how many players of G2 are off-site. There's only one player actually down in the basement. Everyone else is off there being a little bit busy right now, keeping themselves on first floor or up on the second, hoping to catch off onto a player of Shopify Rebellion just lurking around upstairs too long, but they are giving them absolutely nothing. They're focused inside of Dirt. They've got the focus out towards storage. They're trying to go direct towards site base. They don't want to contest an awful lot. There's a nice run out there coming out from Stompin, who, as the Vigil going down, is not the end of the world, but look at who he gets. It's the Dockerbee and it's Surf all in one.
Yeah, that's a tough loss there for Shopify Rebellion. Losing that ability to be able to make that universal phone call could hurt them later in the round. G2 have now got Doki back to site, but has traded out with Alamau, who's gone up to Kitchen. So Alamau playing a little bit aggressively there. Canadian managing to move forward, do some damage to Blaz and force him out of Dirt Tunnel. So Shopify Rebellion now in a position that they can take over that ground and start working forward.
That track not going to be all that much use, I'm afraid, to Ambi. It's a play on the other side of the downstairs here, but it's the two that are sat on this doorway. One going down as Spoit hits his second in the round. Pressure starting to mount for Shopify Rebellion as we get to that last 60. This 4v3 is looking pretty good for them. Only one more nade in back pocket to toss in, but I don't think they need it, Tim. Just go for the fun, go for the gunfights at this point. Even Canadian can try and get a plant down if he wants, but it's G2 that are scrambling. Alamau all alone against 4. C4 not going to find his man, and he's against the shield. This round's only going one way.
Yeah, exactly that. Canadian is going to put the diffuser down as well, if he has time, which he doesn't. Ambi manages to pick up the final kill onto Alamau. I like that from Shopify Rebellion. Spoit and Canadian working really well inside of Dirt Tunnel. There was nothing that G2 could do to hold them back, and then you saw that moment from Canadian. As soon as the kill comes in, he knows the space is there and he aggresses forward, working together brilliantly as a team. Exactly what Shopify Rebellion need. Managing to get themselves round 7. Every attack they get, as I say, when we look at that 30% attacker win rate, every one they get is a huge boost for them.
It is, and I think you've really seen the difference in play styles once again. Erupt in that last round, like G2, very explosive, very volatile back in the first half. Shopify Rebellion, very composed, because when you look at what they actually had control of, it was so narrow. You know, blue, they were pushing in from, and dirt. That was really all they concerned themselves with all round, and in most cases you say, wow, so G2 have got the entire map to play with? Yes, and they were doing just that, but Shopify Rebellion thought, well, we don't need to control a lot here to make our plan work, and then executed it beautifully, ended with nearly every single player on their team still standing. This goes to show there isn't only one approach to Siege that is right, but nothing else. Actually, the more slow and calculated approach to Shopify Rebellion is proving itself to be the better, given how this series is going.
Okay then, gym and bedroom will be the next location for G2, choosing to continue their rotation despite still having the best defensive rated site in the game available. They're going to move along. They'll look to go back there once they've had another banning opportunity, maybe take away the Blackbeard. Who knows? We will see. They've already got rid of the Monty, so it wouldn't surprise me too much to see that when round 4 comes around, but we'll have to wait until we get there.
You missed.
Exactly that. Surf will continue his work with the blowtorch, but Spoit straight up to that top floor to support as well, so he's not going to be taking too much of a challenge from inside of CCTV.
DMR on the banner is just so gross, man. Which is a shame, because I love the Type 89 as well, but you just can't not have a DMR. It's had so much to a lineup. And Capital one as well, very much back in that age, and Maverick at the same time. That age where DMRs are everything, it feels, for a team.
Nitro out and in hand, just with the threat of possibly putting it over the top. As they try to push on in here. Shopify Rebellion not been able to take too much ground yet. Moira does kind of keep threatening that C4, but hasn't really felt that the time was right. Hasn't felt that they've moved on in. Will send it. It's a bad throw. He's going to hit the ceiling. It'll get taken out. Canadian continues to send utility in.
Stomping on the clash here at top of red. Frag coming up through, gets his free BM. Does he live? Oh, the side to side for Canadian. Old beats new, and that can be enough. Still a lot of damage taken though by Spoit and Canadian in the process here. G2 definitely the healthier side. And let's not forget, Tim, this ain't even the site. This is just the extension. Canadian into another as Loira steps into his crosshair. 4 versus 3 for the North Americans.
Canadian and Spoit both super low health though. That is not going to help them as this one continues. And we've got Blaz just waiting at bottom of red stairs. The question is, are Shopify Rebellion aware of that? Or is he going to play spoiler when he manages to creep his way back up there? 45 seconds left to go. I think they might be aware because we've seen the push kind of slow down from them a little bit at the minute. They're taking the time to drone. Canadian just wanting to build a picture before he makes a decision, but here comes Blaz. Are they aware this could be an absolute free bit? Spoit taken down by Alamo. Canadian, I think he knows that he's there. He comes around the corner but doesn't want to take the fight because he's on such low health. Surf manages to get it done. 2 versus 2.
Well, this is the problem, right? In the little bit of chaos that's ensued there, that could be enough. Yes, G2 have lost players and it's into a 2v2, but there's only 15 seconds left. And when a team is forced to go because of the clock, no mistakes are forgiven anymore. G2 can just afford to sit and wait for them to come pushing in. There's fire burning out, Tim. I don't think they've got time here. G2 might hold on through the clock.
Yeah, I think they probably will do. 2 versus 1 as Doki manages to take down Canadian. Alamo doesn't need the clock, manages to find the final kill into Logi, and that is going to be round 4 G2. So that's 1 in either direction. Shopify Rebellion 1 on the attack, G2 1 on the defense. We found ourselves at 4-4, and this one continues to rumble on.
If you ever want evidence of why teams play extended holds, this round is an absolutely perfect example of it. Because I think what G2 have done is the sort of thing I was calling for back in on the previous map is, if you can disrupt Shopify Rebellion early, you play this very calculated, composed style of Siege where they rely on players being in certain places at certain times, using certain bits of utility. If you can trip them up and remove a player or two before they get to that point, it's a good way to unsettle them. And that extended hold did just that. They left them with not enough time, nowhere enough players or utility to actually hit the site with itself. Really well played by G2. Now we go down to the basement. Shopify Rebellion probably going to mix up their game plan, Tim. I do not expect that we're going to see another blue and dirt hit because G2 will have seen it and know they're probably going to rotate out and do something else.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I would have thought so. They will mix it up, and we can see very different lineup being brought here. No shield this time being brought along for them to play behind. Oh, no, they will do, actually. They're going to switch it out. Canadian does go for the Blackbeard again, but as you say, I just can't see it being that same push looking to move down the tunnel. So keep an eye on Canadian and see just exactly where he moves in from. This time he's going to start over at the garage side. Maybe have a little look down oil pit and down the tunnel there, or maybe they're going to use it for a top floor clearance.
Yeah, very possibly. I mean, Doki was saying in all chat, again, of course, he's got something to say. He's like, oh, gun's too much for you, Troy. I don't think it was. He got 2 kills at the start of the previous round. They just couldn't convert as a team off the back of it. So, stick him on a shield or not, he'll still be able to find his way through. Positive in the game as well at 6 and 4. The whole team really pulling their weight here and making themselves heard. You might try and say the same about the side of G2. Alamar especially up to 8 and 4. Good to see him putting numbers on the board because he didn't have a great time back on Labs.
No, he didn't. Alamo is just going to... He's seen him holding that position a couple of times inside a kitchen, just looking to play off the corridor door there. He's going to keep a barricade it closed as well, but they don't necessarily need to give away their position here. They will actually take it down. I was going to say there is a bit of an angle underneath it. Maybe they could have used it instead. Right now, they know that they've got Alamo trapped inside a kitchen, but not much that they can do with that.
He's happy to just hold on there. I mean, we saw it in our series earlier on today when we had Weibo versus NIP on this very map. A player inside a kitchen, they had the clash out in the corridor, and then a player downstairs in sight through an open hatch, contesting onto the window, and it made it a nightmare. But Alamar's gone for a jump out here, but Loira's there just a little bit too quick. The two of them coming together to ensure that Spoit gets thrown down, and now they can afford to lose a player if they really want to, because that's a great start, getting rid of those Selmas.
Just going to take the drop back to site as well, playing with the hatch open, of course. So
if he'd hit that, I would have cried.
No, they've done a little bit of the attacking work for Shopify Rebellion, but it is, again, a measured play, knowing that they could hold on for a couple of minutes there and waste a lot of time in doing so. But I still don't think that Shopify Rebellion are in a terrible position here. They're 4 versus 5. They've got a minute left on the clock, which is plenty of time to attack this site. The problem, the big problem facing them is that all 5 of G2 are now back in sight and are dug in. They can just play to hold on.
All right, let's keep a close eye on Ambi, I guess. One of the key players of the round with those Candelas in back pocket. Crucial bits of utility to help you get map control in absence of a player, and Canadian just letting Doki remind himself that those whole chat comments don't necessarily hold true. Shuts down Doki at 4 versus 4. And surely G2 don't start giving this one away to him. We've got 30 seconds left. That's nowhere near enough time for Rebellion to pull out a well-calculated execute here. And this is why G2 are now sniffing around the backside, but they've given away 2 kills to him. Now it's man advantage to Shopify Rebellion.
15 seconds left to go. They're going to have to take the drop and take the gunfights. We can see Canadian doing exactly that. G2 might just give this one away. Nade goes in, forces the player away from Dirt. Blaz is taken down. Canadians on a tear this round. 3 kills and he's sticking the diffuser down. Alamo, he's moving to do something but can do nothing. Ambi has the answer. Shopify Rebellion, they take another attack. They are already on course to beat that historic attacking win rate that they have. They are looking to get G2 beaten to.
G2 really giving that one up there. Like, I get what the game plan is. Disrupt the execute before it can happen. You know, down Troy, for example, take a shield offline, and you haven't really got any worries come the execute. But they were just throwing bodies at that one a bit too hard, and once Shopify Rebellion said, okay, go, they just completely overran G2 again. So it does look from our perspective, and of course from you as the viewers, that...
Listen, guys, I call time out. I just want to take us a second to reset. We've stalled out a lot in the past 2 rounds. We need better prep information, so we're calling the right takes. Right there was a complete shit show. Great job recovering that. I think we should be running Nomad every single round. They're spamming the clash. Remember, on the gym over, we can do that clash under and block them from rotating back. Be ready for the power. I also think we should be using that ace to put soft pressure on the gym side so you can open up hot tub, because I think that was one of the reasons they were running at us. We didn't have the opposite pressure. Okay? You don't have to stay over there, but I think opening the wall. On this garage, I like they haven't seen the glass from us at all. They won't expect it. We haven't ran cheese on them really. So I think we do the glass cap Nomad. And guys, take our time, set this shit up. Remember, don't talk over each other. We're doing great. Come on.
Yeah. Heard that. Since they did ban the map though, so if they do cash for that, we're gonna have to just take Raptor first and then reset.
You know what I really respect there from Super is that he stepped in at a time that his team has won 2 rounds back-to-back, that they've started to recover, and they have just had a great recovery in that round. But still knows, as good as we're doing, as much as we're getting rounds over the line, it's not what we want to see. There's more we can do here. And as we remarked on, G2 are loving trying to pull off these flank plays that look bad in the moment, but you can see what they're doing. If they get away with a couple of kills there and stop the execute from Shopify Rebellion, suddenly they look like geniuses. They're overrunning them, overwhelming the North Americans, and it looks good. So the Nomad call is great, and in case you haven't heard it before, he also said be careful of the power call. Power is what teams will often say to say, go, right, everyone go aggressive, show power essentially, right? And that's what G2 have been doing, is going aggressive, powering onto Shopify Rebellion. They just need to try and find a bit of composure around that, and they feel that maybe the Nomad and the glass attack they were speaking about could be the way through.
10 seconds remaining.
Adding some protection from grenades.
I'm a little bit concerned for G2 because this is a new map to them to be playing it. We said they banned it out 44 times themselves. It's not usual for them to play here. So yes, they're going to have defenses set, but do they have enough options for a glass being thrown at them? What if this happens? What if that happens? You know, they're going to have their setup, but what about when something doesn't fit that? We're gonna find out right now. How reactionary can they be on the defense? How well can they adapt? Because this may well be not something that they're prepared for.
As you heard Super say, let's bring out the cheese, that nice brand of Stilton they've got packing. Well, that's what the glass looks like for them in this round, along with, of course, Canadian on the Capital helps them get through Catwalk, but it's the smokes that I've got my eyes on. They've got a lot of them across the team, 6 in total, if you include the ones that are in Canadian's gun. So if they can exploit into a good spot here, this could get particularly explosive. There's no Warden on the other side. There are a couple of C4s, so they can do something. But they can keep it nice and simple if so desired. Just a reminder, of course, it's the cash CC site, and that's why the glass makes sense here.
Okay, drones will continue on through the map, which is playing directly into what Super said during that timeout. Let's do the prep work, let's get the intel, let's make sure that we're aware of what we're facing, and let's get ourselves set up for those pushes, for those executes. Exactly what Shopify Rebellion are doing, but it is not going to pay off for them this time. Doki manages to pick up Canadian straight into the chat as well, continuing those mind games, but how about that? They might not have been ready for the glass, but they've just found out that he's there. Spoit takes down Doki. 4 versus 4, and Shopify Rebellion, 1:30 left on the clock, still doable.
The only worry here is that 2 of their hard breach gadgets were in Canadian's back pocket, and they're not going to have a chance to use them. You've seen that we've got the Bandit inside the site, keeping those walls electrified for now. Rex can help with that, but they need to look at Surf here and say, well, you're the only one that can get this wall opened up for us. Without that, one, you can't really have Glass sat where he is now, so they need to try and get him to open the main breach and then rotate over to enable the Glass to be able to play inside a catwalk. There's a lot to do here is my main worry with such little utility.
Spoit gets backed off quite a lot there, and the Tubarau's doing great work. It's essential that they keep Spoit backed up here and don't let him get close to that window, because if he does, he's just going to take out those auto canisters, and it's going to make it very difficult. He thinks about using that last smoke that he's got. He wants to be able to challenge onto this window, but even a blind fire through it could do the job. So right now, Shopify Rebellion, they're caught in limbo, Des. They're just having to sit and wait. They've got no option here, Spoit. They've just, you know, they understand that they're going to have to just give it the time, and he is now repositioned, ready to work from that breach.
Well, Candelas to go in deep. Both of the breaches are still like bolt holes over at crouch height, but this could be enough. They're going to overload as C4 comes over. In he steps, but gets shot on the cross. Alamau finding one, stomping another. Surf might have got Lyra in all the chaos, but this is a bit too risky. Rexon is in. It's all in the hands of Spoit. He's got to stop the cross. Rexon comes up and gets one, but now it is all down to Spoit. They of course see him, and that's the problem with these bulletproofs, Tim. They go ignored for so long, and there it has punished them.
There's a lot of utility to be dealt with by the Thatcher there, and as you say, quite rightly, that was the problem. The bulletproof was not prioritised, and it fed a lot of intel in at the end there, so they could make that challenge onto Spoit. You really do need an extra player in that situation. You need one in Garage to be able to hold down towards Red Stairs, and then you have the one on Breach holding towards that CCTV door into Cash. That is how you create the safe space there. Without the player on Garage Catwalk, on that garage window to be able to hold down towards Red, it gave the G2 the possibility. You can see Alamau comes around, swings onto Spoit. That's exactly what they needed. With the player on window, with that third man available, you win that round. And Shopify Rebellion, they just lost too much too soon.
It's a bit of a kicker as well, because Rexon came off to try and win out that 2 versus 1 with Spoit, which they could then maybe have won the round, but I don't know if he just didn't realise, but there was no time left. He couldn't afford to come off the diffuser. And ultimately, that's what cost him the round. Wasn't even the closing kill that saw it over the line. 5 apiece, though, Tim. We're surely not having some crazy length series, are we? I mean, we've only seen 1 round missed so far back on map 1. This one looks like it's going towards OT. 3 maps of OT? Why not?
Why not?
Watch Fortress be a 7-0 and I'll have a meltdown. I'll be like, come on, guys. Save the best till last and then speed run it. What was going on?
Well, we've got to get there yet. Des, G2 have got to hold on here and get themselves to that point. 5-5 on the scoreboard. We move into round 11. G2 going to be holding Gym and Bedroom. If we look at what has gone before, they have held on to this one the one time
very
they have tried it.
And very comfortably, because they wasted so much time, if you remember, on the extended hold. Going to be not so easy to have the extended hold now that Doki's gone down early. Sure enough, it's just Lyra that's out here at this point. No Clash on side to look to lock things down out there as we had before when Stomping was playing on it. And I do think you're going to see Shopify Rebellion at least with a better chance of an execute in this round rather than running out of time, as they were even just starting to slip around construction.
Knowing that he needs to be careful heading up those stairs, Spoit will cover himself and make sure he's not giving anything away. Lyra does get aggressive though onto that window and manages to find one onto Spoit. And that is going to leave us now 4 versus 4. And G2 really making a move there. It felt like they needed something. They were a man down. They were looking to keep playing this extended hold. And Lyra is doing exactly that single-handedly. Zoto canister in the wall, keeping Spoit from catwalk. And it has left Shopify Rebellion on the bit of the back foot here.
Well, both now opened up, and Lyra was immediately there like, I'll take a look out here. What's going on? What's going on? And sure enough, there is a player out there. Stomping, getting Canadian. Wonderful shot. And that suddenly starts to make things look pretty damn good for G2 because, again, out on the extended hole, before we're even starting to talk or look at the site, Tim, 2 players on Shopify Rebellion are gone.
Gonna send in the Candela. But you just feel it's a little bit too late at this point. 3 versus 4. Lyra has dipped his way back away from Red Stairs and back into catch. He's gone even further into construction. So there's nothing really to be gained too much from that Candela. It gives at least Shopify Rebellion the knowledge that they can go in there safely, but they were able to anyway.
They've got 3 C4s, they've got 2 smokes in Alamal's back pocket, they've kept all the utility and fallen back saying we've got a man advantage here, we can just sit and play behind util every day of the week. They've only got 30 seconds to work with, Tim. They've still got to pop out the pipe that's on the construction door that's now been taken out. This is looking very reminiscent of last time. Yes, they've got a little bit further forward, but they're still going to find themselves in the same troubles, I'm afraid.
Laz is just looking for the peek around the corner and decides a little bit better of it. Stomper manages to take the swing onto Surf though, and this really sets G2 up now. That's 1 kill done, make it 2. Hang on a minute, Shopify Rebellion fighting their way back in. Ambi looking to go for the plant. Rexon sprays down Alamo, leaves us now in a 2v1. Do they stick the plant? Yes, they do. Stomper fighting back. We know that he's got it in the locker. He takes a lot of damage. He's cut down by Ambi, and somehow, Shopify Rebellion snatch around from the jaws of defeat and put themselves onto match point.
Rexon and Ambi, massive play coming out from the boys there in what looked like a very lost situation. We remarked on the C4s, the 2 smokes in back pocket with 30 seconds on the clock. That one looked like it was lost. Everything had to be perfect, and perfect it was. 6-5 for the North Americans. One more round, it, and they 2-0 G2 on day 1 of the Six Invitational.
Lyra had a real game, a real round at the beginning of that as well. It's, you know, a difficult pill for G2 to swallow, I think, at the end there. 2 versus 4. And it's one of those rounds where you look and you say, if this goes south for G2 and Shopify Rebellion do take all those points away from them, it's rounds like that that you got to look back at and say, we were 4v2. We should have been winning that. And the answer is, they should have been.
It's the same as back on Labs. They were up 5v3 in one of those rounds and managed to see that one lost. It's happened a couple of times throughout the series. It's not good. But again, this just points back to that composure that we've seen from Shopify Rebellion throughout this series, and I'll sing it to the death. They are playing really, really good, structured, composed Siege. Composed, definitely the key word I think to put in there, because again, the coordination has been so on point. When they've been disrupted sometimes or slowed down in the early round, yes, they've struggled. But I like what I've seen from them so far, and it's definitely worth saying, like, as an organization, Shopify Rebellion, there's been a lot of, success hoped for them with the kind of players they've got on this team, like Import, of course, and Spoy, Ambi, the absolute North American gunner coming out. We've got some really good talent on this team. Surf, who's having a great day as well, is looking good, and one of the best IGLs arguably in the world right now. Just always fail, like I say, to really bring into practice what's on paper, where they could be one of our best teams in the world. Hopefully this is a good start that gets them rolling through the tournament.
Okay. Alamo did place his second shell down in strip. Pretty much exactly where it should be expected, really. So I would have thought that Shopify Rebellion, as soon as they realise that there's a Scorpos on the board, if they do, they would expect to find that second shell out there. So I'd be a little bit disappointed in the North American side if they get caught out by it. We've seen sometimes for Scorpos to be able to play that teleportation and get onto the flank, it's a little bit of high fantasy sometimes. It's a great ability, but it doesn't often work that way. More commonly, the better sort of more successful use is to be out on the roam and use it to quickly kind of blink back to site, but it is not always the case. And G2 might just be rolling the dice on getting away with that big play.
I mean, Alamar's the kind of guy that will try and pull it off, there's no doubt about that. Rexon the first to fall, Doki still being that thorn in their side early in the round. We've seen it quite a few times down throughout this map. Likes being aggressive onto them, because it's the same thing I've called for as well, is you have to disrupt composed teams by getting up in their face early in the round. He's done that, and it's the Nomad offline. Good operator to get rid of, because let's not forget, Tim, Super during his tack timeout was saying the Nomad will help us control them out on the roam when they're trying to get on the backstab to us. With that not available, this could hurt.
Yep, Canadian takes down Doki 4 versus 4. See that first call ringing out from the Dokubi. Just giving that little bit of intel. They need to be careful. Pushing through bar. Alamo gets away with one there. Lyra does take down Spoit, but Alamo's life, despite avoiding that grenade, is not much longer.
2v2.
Surf picks up Stompin, 2v2 with Canadian down.
They've got a track and they should be able to recover Canadian, but it's about getting into the right spot. Oh, almost a freebie for Surf, but no! Just about misses it out. Loira in a dangerous spot here, chooses to stick. Blaz finishing off Canadians now. It's most definitely going to be a 2v2 to close out. Blaz, 2 kills for himself. At least one more coming on through. And Loira finds what he needs. Tim, say that line again.
We're going to overtime, Des. I think the play there was for Surf to get a bit more aggressive onto Loira. He sent the flashers in. He's got the diffuser in kitchen. He's going nowhere. You know he's going to play in that position for as long as he can. Once those flashes go in, you've got that utility. You've got to get in there and challenge him. But instead, it was used as that opportunity to escape and to push an alternative route. But you could see Loira was fully aware then of what the game plan was. Picked up the kill as he came in through the window. So the window is certainly open for G2 as we head into overtime, and they will start importantly on the defense.
Whilst we've had very even halves between the two, both delivering the same outcome, the same results. Down in Church and Arsenal, as you said, we've already spoke about it. It's one of our most defender-sided sites in the game. You would like to think they can get away with it. And looking at their lineup, Tim, it is very Rome heavy. Once again, Alamau crossing the Mozzie, Stompin, open to running out on the Vigil. Loira keeping busy on the Ella. They don't want to stay on site. You'll even see Doki, and despite the Goyo being a 1-speed, still likes to get out around the map because once those Vulcan canisters are down, you are a free gun to go and play wherever the hell you please. There's not really much more you can do with your utility outside of shooting it, and anybody can do that. So once again, G2 are going to try and slow Shopify Rebellion down, keep on asking questions, keep on testing them. If they can find an early entry like Doki got in the previous round onto Rexon, it'll certainly set the tone for these next 3 rounds.
Okay, let's get into round 13 then. And in the basement, Shopify Rebellion again with the shield. Do they try? We got Blaz on the smoke, much like last time, trying to hold down Dirt Tunnel. Doki with the Goyo, so the Vulcan canisters will be there to support him as well. As it stands at the minute, not too much pressure over that side coming from Shopify Rebellion. I think looking for alternative paths instead. As you said, they've used that route once successfully, so they're not going to push their luck and go for it again. We need some thorough drone in here to make sure they find the player. And I don't think they're aware of Doki here. If they don't re-drone, they've missed him. That's dangerous, Doki. No. He's got away with this.
He really has. This has been that made me nervous for a second.
That's well played from Shopify Rebellion. You know, credit to them where it's due. They've not just taken it at kind of first sight. They've come back. They've been cautious.
I think they've come back there to plant a drone in storage to watch for a flank like that later on. And we're just going to leave it there as literally a flank watch cam. So kind of fortunate they've turned around to put one there. Otherwise, I think Doki completely slips the net there and gets a freebie.
5 versus 5. We've got everybody. No, we've got real spread from G2, actually. If you look, we've got Stompin up on the top floor, not been dealt with yet. We've got a couple in and around bar. Surf is holding their return back towards site, though. Their only option is going to be to drop the hatch, but if he hears the movement, he may well choose to take the swing. He's waiting for it to come across. He does take it, and he does find Loira. Big opener from Surf.
Massive, and then immediately gets onto the dock if he can, in case there's any kind of power play coming out from G2. And he was looking to swing or be aggressive. Stompin the one to watch out for, though. Up in CC right now on that Vigil. He's kind of the X Factor, but they're going to know that his commenting is the main worry. They'll know that he's somewhere around the map. They'll have heard him on the phone call. They'll be aware that there's not every single player accounted for. So there's only one place that he can be. And right now, that's coming down on their heads.
5 versus 4, advantage still to Shopify Rebellion, but 45 seconds left to go. Time could become a factor here. They've still got one to deal with. Do not deal with him. That was the opportunity. They try and rush things. Rexon looking to follow that flash around the corner. In fact, impacts himself and loses the fight to Stompin. They do pick up another 4 versus 3. Stompin has dropped oil pit, is moving back towards site. Him and Alamau both low health, but the onus here is on Shopify Rebellion to go in and get this job done. Surf manages to find one. Time is the factor. 15 seconds left to go. Canadian might need to start putting this case down on the ground as Stompin fights back, but no. Spike there for the trade. Shopify Rebellion, they've got their chance, Des, and they could finish it on defense.
Spoit getting both of those closing kills. Massive for them in the moment because, yes, it was a 4v2, but it was still a little bit chaotic. On the defense they go, as you say, Tim. I imagine we're heading downstairs once again. And it's on G2 to work a bit of magic on the attacking side. Chaos has been their name throughout this game. But it feels like Shopify Rebellion have sort of figured it out here. And yes, it's been a close series. But when it's really mattered, they've found the answer. In fact, Tim, we're going to gym and bedroom here rather than the basement. Shopify Rebellion with the bold call saying, nope, that ain't our primary site. It's going to be the second floor instead. Going to be, how have they done there? They've won one, lost one.
As with everything in this game, Des, the answer is, what's happened there? It was 50-50.
Yeah, quite literally, yeah.
You know, both of these teams have had big moments. Both of them have come in, they've won rounds. They've both played a really positive game of Siege, I feel, coming in. And, you know, they've not been playing it safe. They've not been leaving anything in the round. They've been going out there and doing everything they can to win it. And a lot of these rounds have been won. They've not been down to big mistakes. You know, yes, we can look at the 4v2 from G2 that was lost, but still, it was well played by Shopify Rebellion. You've always got to look at the other side of that coin. Mistakes do not come for free. They are forced by the other team. And Shopify Rebellion have been able to take full advantage of those moments here to get themselves with an opportunity to close this one out. It could be 8-6 here on the defense. G2, now or never, you got to knuckle down. You got to get this done, otherwise you're going to bed having lost that first group stage game.
Shopify Rebellion taking a leaf out of G2's book as well. You've got Canadian going on towards the Clash for this extended hold out towards Cash and CC. It was Stompin that was playing top red on that operator previously. Ambi's out there with him. Merely swapping positions here where the Clash is the one actually peeking instead out towards the breach to see what is coming. G2 probably wants someone here to work their way up through Garage onto Catwalk because it gives you that second angle of pressure. Otherwise, right now, all Rebellion have got to worry about is what's going on the main breach. And there are two players out there. Loira looking for a backstab here potentially on towards the VIP side of things. And Stompin's with them at the same time. So this may actually force Shopify Rebellion back a little bit sooner than they'd otherwise like. Here we go. Loira's in. And they've just gone straight for Ambi, Tim. They don't want to give him a chance to retreat. He has been punished. Wonderful stuff by G2.
Yeah, that's really smart team play there, knowing that they could ignore the Clash and just get in there and aggress onto that second player. They can grab the cams now as well. Love that from G2. What a positive, I said, didn't I, that they've come in and played positive Siege. What a positive, aggressive start from G2.
They certainly play a riskier play style of Siege. I spoke about the chaos that we've seen throughout the series, and when it doesn't go well, it looks really stupid. When it works, they look like geniuses. There is no in between, whereas it's the Rebellion that walk the more safe route through this game, it feels. Here they could yet still be punished. Half the round to play, and G2 are starting to knock on the front door of this site.
And I like from G2 that they haven't got sort of swept into a whirlwind there, thinking that they have to keep going and going and going because they've got that aggressive first kill. No, they've took their foot off the gas. They've gone back to droning. They've gone back to breaching Jacuzzi Wall. They've gone back to ticking boxes on a checklist map and making sure they've got everything in place. The foundations are laid. Loira manages to pick up Surf. 5 versus 3 now as G2 continue to push. There's a little bit of a fight back from Shopify Rebellion, but you just feel that it's not going to be enough. They've been boxed back in. One of the players is Canadian on the Clash, but here comes the fight back.
Rexon managed to get a couple of downs on the back of this. This could be a saving moment. Blast rounds for him. He's into the 1 versus 1. It's Alamau versus Canadian. Could you ask for a better way to close out a game here? Maybe. Canadian's got to go absolutely huge, and Alamau is the one who's outside the building. Gets rid of Loira to take down Doki as well, just to confirm that 1 versus 1. 25 seconds to play, and Alamau has to show him absolutely nothing. Going to try and get the defuse down here as well. Alamau has to get across, and sure enough, he does. Tim, say the line.
We're going all the way to 15, and that was just so well played by Alamau. I think Canadian had made the decision, I'm sticking this, I'm going for it, because he knows that he can't realistically, or he's going to struggle to win that fight. He's on Clash. He's not got the best weapon to be challenging it. I think you just take the chance there. Imagine if he had that shield available and he could have just popped it down in front of him. What a finish that could have been. But
and then Alamau gets Kairos on Twitter. We're like, oh my god, what's going on?
It's all fantasy because it was not the case. The shield was not available and Alamau was able to finish that one off. Look, it was a great round from G2. I love the effort, I love the aggression, I love the positivity they've shown in a moment that could have lost them the match. It didn't. It kept them in it. Rexon got those couple of downs. He gave Canadian the opportunity, but It just wasn't enough. Come the end, it was down to a 1v1. And again, another round that just comes down to the absolute wire between these two. I think we all want Fortress at this point. Let's see if we get it.
29 of 30 possible rounds played. Boys, you do know that this is only your first game and we're nowhere near the grand final yet. Games keep on going like this between these two throughout the competition. I'd love to see them rematched at some point. It would certainly make fireworks fly, Tim, seeing it go all over again. But it could still end here. That's the real heartbreak for G2. If Shopify get this attack done on Gym Bedroom, no less, then we are done. Otherwise, G2 send us into Fortress, and then it's anyone's guess how a new map like that goes.
Okay, then Rexon just being careful, cautious, spots the hole in the barricade, puts a little shot in through there just to let them know they're not going to have it easy. I'm surprised. I know that it's been 3-3 halves, but it just, I don't know, it just feels like it's been a little bit more defensive, and then we come in and we have back-to-back attacks won, and it's like, if anything, I'd have thought it would have gone the other way. If we were going to see it to 15, that it would have been the defenders that would have been on top, but I don't know, you feel like G2 still have just that little molecule of advantage here coming into the 15 round, given that they are able to set up their own defense. It's going to be Gym and Bedroom. We're going to have Jacuzzi Wall opened, but not as much as they might like. I don't think it necessarily applies too much pressure to G2 because they were able, I think, to get a little bit of a trick onto some of the utility.
They've already got the single VIP wall open inside of construction. In the same fashion that G2 did, they opened it really early on. Now I've got their main focus on towards the gas breach, as you can now see being opened up. And there are two players out here in Loira and Stompin. Key difference is Doki is currently sat on the construction door inside the site itself, so he can watch that single VIP wall to make sure that no one can just jump on the single construction wall, that no one can just jump on through and start shooting his teammates in the back. Even Alamau has now come from Logic to come and reinforce. G2 are putting all of their eggs in the extended hole basket here, while Shopify Rebellion are still getting to work on the main Jacuzzi breach.
Setting up the breaching sequence.
Need to just be cautious of the player on stairs. You can just see, I think it's going to be Blaz on the bandit that's looking to just peek up there. Needs to be able to hold this at bay, but a difficult position now that that Jacuzzi wall has been opened to be able to hold on to. So we sort of switch across to the other side here. They've got the Jacuzzi wall, they've got the pressure there. Now they need to be taking cash and CCTV. There was a lot of back and forward there. Canadian took a little bit of damage, but ultimately managed to kill Stompin. Advantage Shopify Rebellion. 5 versus 4, but chip damage is starting to mount up.
It is, and it's the time that makes me nervous, Tim, because again, it's a spot where Shopify Rebellion on the attack of this site have barely even got control of the extended hold, and we're coming down to the last 30 or so. They need to move so quickly here. The key difference is, I think, has Rexon just gone down off the roof or something? That was a bit mental. Either way, down but not out. A 4 versus 3 breaks out momentarily. Surf, though, has gone massive, and like that, G2 could be crumbling before our very eyes, Tim.
Blaz and Loira just getting a little bit too aggressive. It worked in the last round, it hasn't worked here. Doki goes for the jump out. He's trying to find that magic moment, but there will be no magic for G2 as Rexon gets the double, closes it out, and Shopify Rebellion, they deal the next blow in the MENA-EU rivalry and take all the points.
29 and 30 rounds required, but indeed the North Americans take all 4 points off G2. What a wonderful start to their campaign. I hope we continue to see them playing at this level, because that has been a fantastic series. The lowest number of kills for a player on their team, 11. The highest, 13. Make no mistake, that is a team victory for the North American side. The only complaint I've got, Tim, is they didn't let us see Fortress.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been brilliant to see the new map. But look, I look at that game and I see 2 teams. Yes, G2 have lost, but I think, you know, you look at that performance against a lot of other teams at Invitational, I think probably gets them a win.
Absolutely.
It probably starts getting them down the road. They've just come up against what looks to me, after day 1, is going to be one of the best teams here.
Make no mistake, that's one of the toughest games both teams will play in their groups as well. I do not anticipate either finishing last in their group, playing like that. I'm with you. A really good performance both teams can be proud of.
Absolutely. I think you look at both of those and you come away and think, you know what? They're going to be just fine. And I think there will be, you know, out of those 2 teams, at least one of them is going to have a really deep run.
Well, Tim, our day 1's all wrapped up. Here's some highlights for you while we play over to this one, then we'll flow over to the desk here to break it down for you. See you in a few.